Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to another live stream with me, 320 Sim Pilot, as today we take our A320 NEO in Microsoft Flight Simulator for a little flight. I say little, about 2 hours and 10 flight time as we head down from Berlin Tegel to Corfu. As I said, we're going retro today, and you can tell with our fantastic Dan Air livery, once again provided by the brilliantly talented Paddy on flightsim.to. The link is in the description. And we will be taking this beautiful airplane down to Corfu for a bit of a challenge, because I have given it a go, and we shall see what sort of approach we end up with. Not all the features are working yet in this mod that perhaps would make the Corfu approach as simple as I would like, but yeah, we'll go and have a bit of fun down there. Quite an interesting place to fly to. As you can see, we are in Dan Air London livery, sitting in Berlin Tegel, which might seem a bit odd, but I promise you they had a base here. They did start a base in Berlin Tegel for a while because there was a shrinking sort of charter holiday market in the UK. So they managed to set up some use for their airplanes by basing them here and running some holidays for German tour operators. So there you go, your first little Wikipedia fact for the day. This livery, as Paddy's written on his website, on his description of it, this was from the 1980s, and it was the livery Dan Air used up until it effectively got turned into British Airways or bought out by British Airways. So yeah, amazing work as ever with the smooth lines. I don't know how he has the ability to do this, running all the way down the side, and that proper font for the Dan Air London logo. Really nice. Really nice. You don't see London written on aeroplanes anymore these days. But yeah, very nice livery as ever. So we're going to enjoy this as we set ourselves up. Jumping into the chat. Thank you all for coming along. Loads of you again are here, so apologies. I'll do my best. But yeah, thank you all for taking the time to come out this, what day are we on today? Tuesday. So Tuesday afternoon here in the UK, although obviously it could be any time wherever you guys are. The Morgan Thomas Show, thanks for coming along. First comment there. Sahim as well. Chick Point, thanks to see you. Thanks for coming. Kai as well, hope you're doing well. Alex UK, ready and waiting, brilliant. Adiba, hello. Eddie, Aviation Game. Oh, we got loads. Captain Spitfire, hope you're doing well. Dougal, thanks for coming along and moderating. I hope you're well. Dougal's, this was Dougal's first ever jet flight was in a Dan Air de Havilland Comet. There you go. Yeah, it would have been a Comet 4C, as you said, Dougal. Absolutely. Brilliant. Amazing. Sean, hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming as well. We've got loads of others. Mr. Wick, Hot Shot. Again, apologies if I miss you. Aviation Game, I think we said. Keith B, Aaron. I'll stop moving the camera around now. Let's just sit that one here. Mateo and Richard V, thanks for coming and moderating. Glad to see you guys here. Captain Bagoff, Seth Williams, Lauren V, thanks for coming as well. This is fast becoming the Paddy livery reveal channel. It pretty much is, although Paddy's been putting too many liveries out, so I haven't been able to keep up. But thanks for coming. Daniel Lawrence, good to see you as well. Mr. Espresso, hope you're doing well. And I think we've got people checking in from all over the world, which is brilliant. We've got Norway. Did we have Australia? Yeah, hello to you in Australia. I hope things are well down there. Hello from Germany, where we're starting. Excellent. And Dave is in dreary Essex. Yeah, it's pretty dreary where I am in the UK as well. So I can imagine it's a bit nicer in Australia. Thor, good to see you. Thanks for coming along as well. And I see your message about my description in the chat. Yep, thanks for that. We'll keep an eye on it. Alexander Beck, hope you're doing well. Do you like the printer function? Well, that is the talk of the town at the moment, isn't it? There is a printer available in this Flybywire mod these days, so we will absolutely be exploiting that throughout the video today or the stream today. No way we'd miss that one. Ahmed is in Tunisia. Good to see you. Thanks for coming. Yogesh Chedley, Tunisia as well. And so many names. Sorry to everyone. More from Germany. Chicago as well. Brilliant. Romania. Try out the printer. Don't worry, we'll see the printer. Russ, good to see you. London. Yeah, it is cold in the UK. Brian is in Kenya. Amazing. Fantastic. Right. They've introduced the rotation law. Yes. So I have heard that now the Fly-by-Wire mod has the rotation law, which is a pretty unique thing to the NEO. It is unique to the NEO aircraft, in fact. So that's not something we've seen in the simulator yet. I don't think the Toliss A321 has rotation law either, even with its NEO upgrade package. So that's something we'll try out. So yeah, we're not on a server, DJ. We're on VATSIM. Right, San Francisco as well. Fantastic. No sound. Well, there's no sound in the simulator yet, but I will adjust that as required. Let me just check. Yeah, you guys should get audio when it starts up. So we are parked up here on gate. I'll be using the Thrustmaster TCA Airbus throttle and side stick. If you haven't seen my video, I have a video of that out at the moment on the channel where I've done a little sort of unbox and initial impressions. I will do a full review a little bit later on but I just wanted to just share my thoughts on it after receiving it. I bought it. It's not a review unit or anything like that. I just purchased it because people notified me it was in stock, which was very kind of them. And yeah, it was great. We managed to get a hold of a few. I can see some other aircraft has joined us here in Tegel. Now, Tegel is, of course, closed these days. You can't actually fly here anymore. And VATSIM have said they'd rather we flew from the other airport, but we're going so retro, I wanted to use a Dan Air base, so here we are. But that may cause us some issues going IFR when we get into the air, so we shall see if we get in trouble with the controllers. I hope not. Hopefully, if we behave and just check in with them when they ask us to, then they'll be able to guide us around their airspace as required. The plane is sort of on a turnaround again, so the jet bridge is attached, passengers have got off, we're here, we turned the AP off and the fuel pumps, but other than that, we are pretty much ready to go. And there's a reason I've had to do this. With this aeroplane, it seems I need to have the aircraft powered up when I load up the simulator in order for my radio stack to work, because I do have a little radio stack now. It doesn't display the right frequencies down here, so don't panic. If you see it down here, it shows as the wrong frequency, which you might notice throughout today, whereas I can promise you on V pilots and so on, I've got the right frequency. So that is the hope for today anyway. I don't know why it doesn't quite work properly, but there we go. We shall manage. Victor Tango, good to see you. Thanks for coming along as well and moderating. And yeah, if you are enjoying the video, do please hit the like button. It's always appreciated. It does great things for the channel in the algorithms, the depths of YouTube's brain and so on. Okay, so pretty much freshly disembarked, we need to get everything set up, so let's go in and do our usual. So I'm going to go into the ATSU first and AOC in it, and let's load up. Fingers crossed it finds our flight. There it is, Berlin to Corfu. The reason it has this loaded in is because it took it from SimBrief, where I loaded it earlier. Next we are going to go to the performance, weight and balance. So they reckon we need a block fuel of 8.7. I'm going to go with 10 tons because now this is old block fuel. This is for the old aircraft, so we're going to have loads of fuel. But I'm going to... Well, that's not going to work, is it? 10. The reason I'm doing this is because A, I don't entirely believe the routing we've got, and B, the arrival is pretty interesting. Put it that way. So let's load that on. We should see 10 tons. There it is, 9,920, always a bit less. It does happen in real life. That 80 kilos can go missing, which is always a bit upsetting when you wanted it. Now we've got a gross weight of 60.1, but that is a bit light. I need to increase that payload. Let's try... I don't know why this is done in pounds, but let's see if we can get that up. 60.1 hasn't changed. Why hasn't that changed? 0 fuel at 65. Oh no, hold on. That's no. I'm doing that wrong. I don't need to look at that yet. I need to look here. So we need the 0 fuel weight to be 58. Okay, let's put 20. You can see how pounds completely confuse me, being a European pilot. Completely lost when it comes to it. That's about a ton too heavy. Let's go 18,000. Should be 59. That'll do. That'll do. We'll load that on. That gives us the takeoff weight 69 tons, which is, yeah, about right. About what I was expecting. So pretty heavy, but we've got plenty of fuel to account for that. Zarek says the airport is closed for flying, so why are you flying from there? Well, we're flying from there because we're in a Dan Air aeroplane and they had a base here. Also, this airport closed is a bit of a shock, really. I mean, I knew it was coming for a long time from the other airport, but and many pilots would have flown into Tegel a lot, and then no one got ready to fly much the last year, so our last sort of flights were all sort of taken away. So I just thought it'd be fun to have a flight from here on the stream. That's why we're here. We're allowed to be. VATSIM does allow it as long as we don't expect too much. Good evening to Victor. Thanks for coming along. You're a big fan of Tegel Airport. Excellent. Yeah, excellent. Right. So there we go. We've got our weights loaded in now. So that's the first part of this. What we can do is, whilst we're here, let's not tease it any further. Let's get the METAR. I assume Flight Simulator has it, as it has Tegel loaded into it. METAR, send. Let's find out what the weather's doing. There won't be an ATIS here, of course, because it is closed. We're going to have a nice, easy taxi out, that's for sure. And then we'll go to our received messages. Hopefully that will come through any second. And we're going to get to print something. That's the plan. Now, in the real aircraft, that would actually show up straight away. You wouldn't have to refresh the page, as it were. These pages just show up. Ah, it's not available. Disaster. Disaster. Can we print that? Here we go. Is that going to work? Yes, it is. Look at that. Outrageous. Never seen this before in a simulator. Collect that piece of paper. Missile not available. No way to throw that away. Oh yeah, there is. There you go. It's gone. So that's the first attempt. We'll be using that again later. And I have a little video coming out soon on the printing anyway. Okay. Right. I think we've done our performance, weight and balance, done the weather, loaded it in. Let's go back to our full setup. So aircraft status is looking good. We are in the up-to-date database valid until 27th of Jan. Fantastic. So we'll do our init a delta or DI diff strip. That's what we're doing as ever. Stephen Barker says, didn't you have to type in the 038 and 038 CG? Yeah, that will come a bit later. Yeah, it will automatically calculate those though. It's quite clever, this mod now. Lauren V had to grab the EDDB meter. Yeah, that's a bit of a shame. Yeah, bit of a shame. Lauren V flew this last night, this livery. Excellent. Right, there we go. It's loaded in the flight plan. This is a great system. Big fan of this still. So, Berlin to Corfu, alternate Thessaloniki, down air 248. Costinex is loaded in at 34, which is fine. Going to cruise at flight level 370. IRSs are all aligned as they would be automatically, and the wind component we will put in a bit later. That is init A, so flight plan. Now, to give you guys some context, here we go. Get ready for the mess of charts on this channel. I do apologise to everyone in advance, but if I give you the taxi chart, we're somewhere here. I think we're on stand 5. We are going to go and take off from 08 right. Berlin wouldn't send you over to 08 left. I don't believe. I think they would use this closer runway for departures and the outer runway for arrivals. That's sort of a common setup at these style of airports. That way you can have aircraft lined up waiting to go here, whilst you've got aircraft landing on 8 left who can cross over, and they have to cross that runway to go and park. Yeah, so not far to go, but over there. And then our SID is going to be the Gurga 1 Tango, pretty much straight ahead. So 08 right, please. And it seems to all be in here. That's why I was surprised the weather won't load. Bit of a shame, but there we go. It's Gurga 1 Tango. Straight ahead, DT 081 and then Gurga. So that has all loaded across fantastically. Initial climb clearance for the 1 Tango is 5,000 feet. New policy, I will always click off the charts before I do anything else. That's going to be the only way. So 5,000 feet we have in there. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to get the correct QNH by pressing B in Flight Simulator, and there it is. Flight directors, let's turn those on. Excellent. VS0, that's all wrong. So we're going to go to push that in. Climb nav armed. Excellent. Right. Let's get back into the setup. Any questions, by the way, guys? Do save them for a bit later once we're in flight, and then we'll be able to get through them a bit easier. I continuously get in trouble for my setups being too slow, too drawn out. There we go. There's the route. Nothing exciting here. I did post it into the Discord. If you ever want to fly along on that sim, do join the Discord because you can get an advance notice of what route we're flying. We're going to fly. We'll set that up when we're in the air. We'll set that up in the air. Right. DIFS. Nope, still not active. This is the latest version of the experimental fly-by-wire system, just so you guys are aware. The latest version. I think it updated twice today. I can't keep up with it. Finally, RadNav. Well, as you guys would have seen, that was a basically completely RNAV departure. So there's not really any DMEs or anything I can use that are going to be of much use for us. So we'll leave that as auto-tuned. The Airbus would actually tune some things in here. It doesn't leave it blank. It shows you what it's tuned, but they're in little writing. And you can then type over them and they'll show up in big writing if you need it. But we'll be using this page a bit later to fly the VOR into Corfu if that's what we do. Next, very, very important page, init B, but luckily we can press that like that and it loads in the figures. We have our block fuel now of 9.9. Let's do that. 9.9, in that goes. 68.8 takeoff weight, absolutely fine. And the wind components. Sounds like there's some traffic. I'm hearing it. I hope I'm on guard. Sorry, not guard. Can someone remind me, please? Because I had a complete memory blank earlier. Is 1228 Unicom on that sim? Just as I was setting up, I suddenly lost confidence that I had the right frequency. Wind component plus 15 we've got today. Plus 15. So I'm going to put in TL 15. In it goes. There we go, and that adjusts for us now. Again, none of this stuff worked when this airplane came out. Blows my mind how many things have been added. Right, Dougal says, even my wife told me off today for using my yoke with this aircraft. She's learning way too fast. Excellent. Yeah, no, this has got to be done. I'm good to see you trying out the Airbus, Dougal. I hope it goes well for you. And the H1302, thanks for coming along. That's the PC up and running. Hope I didn't miss too much. You didn't miss anything. We're just finishing up the MCDU. Right, that's init B then. So diffs rip, the final letter P. Let's go with a flat 1 takeoff. No obstacles or terrain. Flex 65 and load in the speeds. 1228. Yeah, perfect. Thank you guys. I've used it so many times, but just totally forgot. Transition altitude. Let's grab that off the chart. I'm going to stop myself from putting the chart up too easily or too often now because it's been forgotten too many times. Right, transition altitude is 5,000 feet, so we're stopping at the last altitude on the way up, which is no problem at all. Good stuff. Right, so that's performance page. That's pretty much done. Let's think about warming up the cabin. I mean, what's the temperature? I think the condition page is one of the pages working well. Oh, that's nice and warm actually. Wouldn't have too many issues out there, even though it's 2 degrees outside, so that cabin would cool down. Although, to be honest, if you have a jet bridge and all the doors closed, sometimes the cabin can stay surprisingly warm. 3 seconds after the master switch goes on, turn on the start switch and let that get up and running. I think we have new sounds as well, so I'm going to try and give you guys the sound better. So do let me know if I'm too quiet or the sounds are too loud, and vice versa. Boris has been working very hard on the A32NX sounds, and I haven't given them a proper test yet, so I'm going to hope we can hear them on startup today. We can probably hear the APU. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I can hear if I turn up my speakers. Really nice sound effects here. Yeah, it is a bit slow. The APU startup is a little bit slower than in real life. I could agree with that. Okay, I've upped the audio a bit, so sorry to those of you who have had your audio on full. Hopefully I haven't come through too loud. Fingers crossed this works out for you a little bit better. Right, so there we go. And now, as I said before, we have to wait for that to warm up. But if I put on the bleed, we have some new exterior bleed sound effects. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. That screaming noise is exactly what you hear, and it comes from the air conditioning packs. There's an inlet here and an outlet here, and then there's the same on the other side. There's an inlet here and an outlet just under the fuselage here, and they make an incredible noise as you're doing your walk around. So yeah, they are really noisy, really noisy. Sim sounds a little quiet. Okay, we'll see how it goes when the engine start up. I don't want to fiddle too much. It could also be ATC. It could be too loud for you guys. But yeah, fingers crossed this works. But yeah, those sounds are all spot on. I mean, they're perfect. They sound like they've been taken straight off the real aeroplane. So that's our bleed up and running, conditioning the cabin. Good stuff. Oh, we've got some more people. So I understand, Boris, and I'm sure plenty of people have worked on those sounds. So I do apologise if I missed any other names. But yeah, hot shot as well, apparently. There we go. Okay, so AP bleed on, and I believe there's some new brake van sounds coming but they're not here yet, so I look forward to that, because that is another noisy part of the Airbus on the walk around. It can be deafening. You've got to have those ear defenders. Right, okay, where was I? So stand by 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. Just sorting something out I forgot to do before sitting down to stream. Good, let's get the passenger seatbelt signs on now, because we have our fuel on board, which is good news. We've got our data loaded, our takeoff data loaded as well, so that's all no problem. And if I go to plan, we should see our departure just straight out. Really nice, up to our 5,000 feet. No problems there. Good news, good news. I think it's time then to remove that jet bridge. So let us get rid of that. I've said before many times, it's the Airbus is an amazing machine for these turnarounds. It's been so well thought out for just lots of different sectors. 49 Whiskey, US $10 donation. Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Hello, there is a workaround now for the radio panel issues. First, you have to assign a key button to avionics master switches 1 and 2. Once you start the aircraft, you hit that key and it will turn on. Ah, fantastic. Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to definitely take a note of that. Because that is good news. Because yeah, my little radio panel I have doesn't quite work. It does work in the VATSIM sense, but not in the sim. So that's great news. So thank you very much for 49 Whiskey, and also thank you very much for your kind $10 donation. Really appreciate it. That's really kind of you. And yeah, advice and donation is it's far too generous. So thank you, 49 Whiskey. I hope you're doing well in the US, I assume, with that currency. Right, Alexander Pasuto, good to see you. Alexander Pasuto says, I've got to go now as I've been called into work as I'm on standby. Apparently the FO on the flight has called in sick, so see you in Johannesburg. Right, enjoy your flight, Alexander. Can't believe people are still flying around. Excellent. Well, enjoy. Fantastic. Alexander is our resident 777 pilot for our Boeing-related issues. In the whole of Germany, the transition altitude is 5,000 feet. There we go, so that makes sense. Okay, so some nice details there. The door automatically closed. It's closed on this screen. The reason we have slide white over the wings is because these are the emergency exits. So these are always armed, these little doors here, whereas the main doors that we actually use to go on and off will only arm by when the cabin crew do it. Hot shots, just to clear it up, I am Boris, the guy messaging you on Discord. There we go. See, I'm terrible with names. Well, also, I never managed to keep track of people changing their usernames between Discord and YouTube. So yeah, it's there you go. Hotshot is Boris, who's done the audio. Fantastic. Any questions? So Henzo, thanks for your question. Ask me again in the cruise, because just so I can get the flight underway. Arcavian as well. I'll answer that a bit later. But needless to say, it's getting better. It's getting better all the time. Okay, hola to Booby, thanks for coming along. Right, let's run our, I think it's time for the before start checklist. What have I missed? Always the question that pilots will ask each other now. Well, we can get those fuel pumps on. I had a message recently on a YouTube video, and again, I've said this before, I don't always get round to answering all the messages. In fact, I often don't these days, because between Discord and the messages, I'm not complaining, it's a nice problem to have, but yeah, there's a lot of comments, which is very kind, and I love it, so please keep the comments coming, but I don't always get a chance to reply. But someone did comment, I saw today, saying that they had the fuel pumps off and the engine started and they got up into the cruise before they realized, is that realistic? But yeah, the airplane will gravity feed even without the fuel pumps powered, so it's there are rules about gravity feeding, and it's not, you're not going to, we're not going to sit here and do a flight under gravity feeding. You wouldn't do that, but it could happen in flight for any number of, well, for a few very severe reasons, very rare. But anyway, it is a thing. So the previous simulation, you couldn't run the engines without the fuel pumps on, but that's not true of the real aircraft. The engines can run even with the fuel pumps off. Just a tiny bit of trivia there. So it sounds like that might have been adjusted in the sim, so now the fuel pumps can be left off and it should still start. But anyway, I won't test that out today. We can get rid of that ground power unit. We are now running on the APU, and it's time to to get ourselves going. So before start checklist, cockpit prep is complete for both of us. Gear pins and covers removed. Signs up here are on and auto. ADIs are in nav up there. Fuel quantity is 9.9, and it's enough, and it's balanced. Checking it's you'd always have about 680 in the outer tanks, and then whatever's left in the inners. After about 12 tons, you'll start getting fuel in the center tank as well. Takeoff data is set. It's all in here. Barra ref 1012 is set. Windows and doors are closed. Well, there's no one to tell, so let's get that beacon on. Mobile phones off. Thrust levers idle. Loving the having the actual thrust levers in my hands here. It's really surreal. I've got to say, just like the printer, it's really strange. It's really strange the Microsoft Flight Simulator journey, where we started off with an airplane that was so far from from the actual thing, and now we got this. Parking brake is also set. Okay, so we are pretty much ready to go. I'm on Unicom, so it's going to be time to. Yep, beacon is on. Yep, thanks though. It's time to probably tell people on chat. Unicom, I should say. So who have we got around? I imagine that there's normally a few people who come along for the flight. No one on our left, so we can push back. And there's some traffic on the right. And I've got a new transmit button. I've assigned the transmit button onto that extra button on the side stick. So now I can actually use the trigger in a sort of representative way of how the real thing would work. But I've said that very smugly. Now I'm going to find out that it's going to cause a problem. Tegel traffic, down air 248, pushing back stand 5 to face west. Good stuff. So, let's go. Oh, what's going on here? Nah, that's a shame. Normally I'm using the pushback add-on. Maybe I parked too far forward. Let's just see what happens. It may work, it may not. Under 35-minute setup. Thanks, Evos. Yeah, exactly. I had a mission today. John Stanley, I tried to print the METAR. Sadly, it wasn't working on this one because Tegel's a disused airport. What we can do, whilst we're waiting to see if the pushback works. What's the ICAO for the new airport? Is it EDDB? Let's send that off and then print that one. Victor Tango says the trigger to torque works well in X-Plane 11. Yeah, great. I'm hoping it will work out today as well. I'm not sure why it's sort of rolling backwards. It shouldn't do this. Obviously, the parking brake is on, so you're never going to try and push or pull an airliner with the parking brake on, or you'll get yourself into real problems. But I'm just hoping that tug... Let me deactivate it now. There we go. And now I'm going to press activate and hope it attaches. Something that really impresses me in Flight Simulator is the built-in jet bridges. That jet bridge, you know, I parked obviously too far forwards for the way the sim is set up, and it's still attached wherever the door is. Really impressive. EDDB, thanks Victor Tango. Yeah, so let's see. Let's go to receive messages. So first one not available, that's fine. Again, I've got a little video coming out tomorrow where I talk. I promised you that I said, you know, if I can do a 35-minute video about the lights, then we can definitely get a video out of the printer, or this wouldn't be the 320 Sim Pilot channel. So we have managed to get, I think it's 10 or 15-minute video entirely about the printer up and running. So here it is, printed out. I looked away, sorry guys. I can print it again for those of you. I know this is the newest feature, but again, it is remarkable. I've never seen anything like it. A 3D animation for the printer that actually changes the text. I don't know how on earth they've done this. We'll collect that, put it there. So just checking, they've got a westerly breeze, that's good. Showers in the vicinity, 2 degrees, 1012. So we've got the right QNH, westerly breeze. So actually we're taking off with a bit of a tailwind, 7 knot tailwind, because I'm planning on 08. So that's fine. You can take off with Depends on your airline. Some airlines will allow 10, some will be a bit more, some will be sort of 15 knots. And the H1302 has his down air livery on the 737-200. Just going to power back. Excellent. Yeah, Sprinter. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Can I get the pushback right? There we go. Oh, it's not going to be perfect. If I go right. No. Left. Let's go straight. Pretty sure I can hear the brake fans now. Can you go any steeper than that? No. Straight. Left. This is an art. The pushback crews get really good at this. And they will do their best to get you pushed back straight onto the line first try without having to wobble around here. So that was not a great attempt, but yeah, they are incredibly talented at that. Now we're still rolling backwards, mildly concerning, so I'm just going to gently apply those brakes, because obviously that would not happen.
Okay, right.
Set the brakes. There we go. Off they go. Let's get that engine up and running. New sound effects. So we're going to start with engine number 2. I'll stop talking for a second, and see how it goes. Let me just adjust V-pilot in case that's coming through too loud for you guys. Okay, hopefully that works. Yeah, I don't know if the new rotation law is in this model. I've been told it might be, but I need to give it a test. Okay, starting engine number 2. Get that timer up and running. I'll stop talking.
Victor Uniform Tango 65, cleared IFR to Corfu. About to push back, facing north.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Let's do engine number 1. And one of my favourite things, actually, I think they've done an amazing job on the interior sounds. If we go to... Oh, let's see if I can do it quick enough. Camera, showcase, fixed camera, 11, 11. Excellent. Right. That's working. Lovely. Yeah. All very smooth, all very believable. And that is available. I wonder if we'll get the delayed startup times, the sort of cranking that the NEO engines do once they're warm. I'll be curious to see that implemented in the future. Wouldn't surprise me.
Berlin traffic, small planet 179.
Oh, yeah.
Taxi 2
right. Team has just made an amazing point, which is I have the Thrustmaster throttles and I didn't use the... I didn't use the switches. Right, I'm going to use them now. I've missed my chance. In fact, now I've got a problem because the masters are on in the sim, but the masters on my little throttle quadrant aren't. So let's turn those on. I can't believe that. What a waste. Right, I can do the norm switch back to norm. There we go. Fantastic. And I need an overhead panel, of course, fitted into my sim room. Let's turn off the APU bleed. Don't need the APU. 2 degrees with some... The clouds are pretty low out there. We'll put the engine anti-ice on to be ready. You'd have to account for that in your performance. And we are going to set our flaps to 1. I don't have the flap or speed brake add-on to my throttle quadrant yet. That seems to be even harder to get hold of than the actual joystick is. And CG, correct weight CG 29.2. Surprise, surprise.
Is now pushing back.
Where's my trim switches? So that should be. Oh, it's a bit hard to see here. Let's go control 5. Oh. And we want 29.2, so that's going to be a little bit aft. Sorry, a little bit nose down, I should say. 29.2, there we go. Great stuff. Oh no, the flaps have gone to 2 because I pressed the wrong thing. There we go, flap 1 plus F. Goodness me, making this really difficult for myself. Good stuff. Right, let's see what we've missed there. After start checklist, anti-ice is on. Ecam status is checked. Pitch trim is set. Rudder trim is at 0. They should have been arms. There we go. I knew there was something. Let's get that transponder to auto. Out reporting on. I'm going to put TARA now. Display to all. Squawk 7000, which I can now also do on my radio panel, which is very exciting. And I think we're pretty much ready to go. So, as a taxi routing, it's not too exciting. So I won't show you the chart. We're going to go straight ahead, and then we need to turn right on Romeo Whiskey. Or there is something worth showing you, I suppose. Is just something in this situation. I really don't want to miss Romeo Whiskey. So I'm here, so it's the second right, Romeo Whiskey. Do not let me continue on Sierra Whiskey, or we'll end up with no choice but to enter this runway and come back. You'd be in big trouble for that one. Good stuff, good stuff. Right. I've got my brake release assigned to a button on my joystick, so there we go. Actually, let's look out. So it's all clear left, it's all clear right. Let's get the turn off lights on, taxi light on, and brakes released. Off we go. So I'm using these little thrust levers, as I said, and they're nice. I really like them so far, but one of the issues I am having is the sensitivity, and it's the most common question on my video. Let's just do a little brake check here. So just going to squeeze those brakes. There we go. No pressure shows there. Good stuff. I am using pedals now, which I wasn't before. But yeah, they're a little bit sensitive, so to get the right taxi thrust settings is a bit of a fine art so far. However, when I tried to change the sensitivity, I found they no longer match the detents. But the magic is, if you follow the information on the Flybywire GitHub page, it does describe how to get them set up properly so the detents work. So I'm planning to do a little video about that, because I'm asked a lot, how do I get the detents to work? Okay, we're going straight on. We want to make sure we go right at Romeo Whiskey. Let's do our flight controls. Full left, full right, neutral, full down, full up, neutral. I'm going to slow it right down here because I still haven't found... Does anyone know, is there a way to disconnect the nose wheel steering? Full left on the rudder, full right on the rudder, neutral. Yeah, in the Toliss you can press the button. It's this little push disc button that would stop the aeroplane from... Oh, bit too much power there. You see what I mean? Just have to move them a tiny bit. But yeah, it's... I haven't found a way to do it in this sim yet. Okay, let's get that weather radar and predictive wind shear on. Weather and turbulence. Transponder's already on. Max auto brake. Get that takeoff config. Here's our turn coming up. And let us do the cabin crew. Ding dong. Bit of a queue behind us. Wouldn't have helped my standing on the brakes like that. So not this one, second right. Excellent, good news. Yeah, a bit of a tailwind for takeoff. No problem there. Slight difference though in tailwind takeoff technique. The NEO has a very sensitive way of doing it with the engines, but effectively what we need to do is not let them spool up asymmetrically or anything like that. So we're going to be a little bit more careful with the spool up. I'm going to spool them up initially to the 50%, then I'm going to release the brakes, then I'm going to move them quickly to 70%, and then gradually to take off thrust after that. Gosh, it's something I need to refresh my brain on, because it's something that I'd look up before flying the the NEO because it is so different to the other engines. But effectively, it's a slightly more considered spool up. We're also going to do full side stick down for the takeoff at the start. We normally do half, which is there. You can see that little cross on the PFD. But what we're going to have to do is full side stick down. And the idea is just to get a bit of extra... Excuse me, just a bit of extra grip on that nose wheel at the start of the takeoff roll. We're going to have a sip of water as well before we go. I can see that happening. Right, let's do the before takeoff checklist once we get to this holding point here, and then we're going to be ready to go. Thank you all for coming along and watching. If you are enjoying, do please hit the like button. It makes a big difference to the channel. But yeah, thank you all for taking the time out of your day to come and watch. Oh, let's sit on those brakes. There we go. Oh, that's far too aggressive. Parking brake set. Okay, right. Before takeoff checklist, flight controls, we have checked. Flight instruments are checked. Briefing confirmed. Flap settings, config 1+F and config 1 in there. FMAs and takeoff, we've got 136, 141. Brake max, climb, nav are all armed. 1 on FT2, and we're going to stop at 5,000 feet, flexing 65 on this takeoff. Transponder is set. We're doing TARA 7,000 for now. ECAM memo is takeoff, no blue. Cabin is secured for takeoff. Engine mode selector is normal. TCAS, TARA, packs are going to be on for this takeoff. Right. Let me just have a quick drink. Flywick, thanks for coming along. I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. Yeah, nose wheel steering disconnect is not yet implemented. Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for that.
Lining up for takeoff.
I'm using the Logitech pedals. Okay, we have a Lufthansa lining up 8 left in front of us. So, now that's an interesting one. Tegel has parallel runways. They wouldn't usually have both taking off at the same time, but they do have aircraft approaching one. And I think this is one of those airports where you'd be sitting here waiting to take off. Yeah, let's do it. Let's line up. Down Air 248. Tegel ground, or Tegel traffic. We're going to line up 08 right and wait for the departure on 08 left. Because we're probably going the same way. So let's get ourselves onto the runway. And let's check out that queue behind us. Excellent. Well, we could get ourselves into serious trouble with VATSIM. So let's hope they don't mind. It looks like the Berlin main controllers have gone offline now, which will help us out. Okay, there's the lights on. And we'll wait for this aircraft to depart. They were there first, and then we will take off after they got a bit of a separation. I'm not sure if this aircraft is flying with us or not, but if they are, I don't want us all to get to Corfu at the same time, because it's a bit of a funny one to get all the aircraft in at the same time. Right, so I'm waiting here. Let's finish. Oh no, our checklist is complete. Yeah, all the way through. Good stuff. So we're pretty much ready to go. Yeah, brake check edition. Yeah, for you guys behind, I hope you've managed. 700 viewers. Yeah, thank you all for coming along. I hope you're all doing well. Yeah, do please hit the like button if you're enjoying the video. It makes a big difference, and we really appreciate it. But I hope you're all enjoying it so far. Have I missed that traffic? I've been talking away. There it goes. Yeah, way off. Totally missed that. Right, let's give it just a second. And we need to have a bit of space, otherwise when we get into controlled airspace we'll find ourselves in all sorts of trouble. Engines are nice and warm. Are we ready to go? Looks like we are.
A320 Simpilots, big shout out to you and the crew. Have fun, guys.
Thank you very much. Have fun too. That's very kind.
And that was 100% too.
That's very kind of them. Excellent. Right. Okay. Yeah, that's probably enough time. I mean, it's normally 2 minutes for the same route, I believe, although I'm not an air traffic controller, as you guys know. Down Air 248, taking off 08 right, Berlin Tegel, for a straight ahead departure to Gerga. Okay, let's see if we can get this right then. So, full side stick down, we said. Get those engines 50%. Oh, before we can do that, this is what the other pilot would do. They'd start the timer. There we go. Right, release those brakes. Get those engines spooled up. And now gently increasing that thrust. And there it is, man. Flex 65 SRS runway. All the thrust is blue and armed. It's the same point to release that forward pressure though. We're going to do it at 80 to 100 knots. That doesn't change. Let's see. I haven't tried the new rotate law, so let's see how that works out. So 80 to 100, releasing that forward side stick. We've got the traction we need now from the rudder, or grip in the air, I should say. Oh, we are really moving. And there is V1 and rotate. Let's try out the rotate law. So I'm just holding the sidestick in the same position. Okay, positive climb. Gear up. Let's not overpitch too much. Up comes that gear. There we go. Yeah, I'd expect it to be higher than 15 degrees for a flap 1 takeoff. Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, I liked that rotate law. That was a big improvement over the last time I tried this custom fly-by-wire. Lever climb. Now, it doesn't actually go to man MCT there. It would stay in the flex thrust that you have set. But anyway, bring those back 1 click. Thrust climb, auto thrust. Now, it wants us to completely level off. The real airplane wouldn't do that. Let's get an autopilot in. See what happens. Hopefully it works it out. Above the green S, flaps come to 0. Because when it lowers the nose that much, you get to such a ridiculous acceleration that it's very easy to bust those flaps. But anyway, flaps are coming up to 0. We're going up to 5,000 feet. Beautiful view, Berlin out the right-hand side of the aircraft. There it is. Alexanderplatz, I think the tower is definitely very visible in Microsoft Flight Simulator. There's the traffic coming out after us. And there's that level off. So it's gone into speed out star at 5,000
Berlin
feet.
Tegel traffic, small planet 179er, taking off runway 08 right.
And there's our colleagues coming behind. That's our departure, so we're just going to fly that. Now I want to clean up the aircraft. So flaps are at 0. Let's disengage the spoilers. We don't need that anymore. And let's turn off the lights that are attached to the nose wheel. Off they go. Jump into a passenger view for a second.
Air Berlin 257 lining up behind departing traffic, runway 8 right, Tegel.
Carl Zalanga, thanks for coming along for the takeoff. Rice Harrison, hello to you. Alexander Galfano, yes, sorry, I did see the message. Oh, we're already getting ice. No, I don't want ice. Let's climb. Let's climb. Now we're in uncontrolled airspace effectively, so I'm going to go up to our cruise of 37,000 feet. Let's try and get through this ice. Anyway, icing conditions, engine anti-ice is on, and we all know there is an issue with the engine anti-ice in Microsoft Flight Simulator, or the icing in general, but I do get to use my ignition switch again. There we go, to ignition. Fantastic. Severe ice detected. Let's hopefully we get through that quick enough. Nope. No, of course not. I mean, that's ridiculous. That was the thinnest layer of cloud. I mean, it's a beautiful layer of cloud. It looks just perfect. It's a real shame that we still have to suffer with this. Now, I have tested the developer mode removal of it. I may do that because it's going to be a nuisance. I just don't want to get kicked off of VATSIM. We shall see. We shall see. Right, we'll get to that master caution. Severe ice detected. That is a feature not all Airbuses have, but some of them do. Going up to flight level, of course, so we're going to set standard. Flight level 370 is now there. Let's now run our after takeoff checklist. The landing gear is up. The flaps are retracted and at 0. Packs are both on. You'd certainly hope you have a warning by now. And barrel ref is on standard. Great stuff. Let's get rid of all the anti-ice then. We know we don't need that. We're in clear, lovely, clean air out there. Let's put the ignition to normal. Next step. Still, okay. Okay. Okay, stand by, guys. Let's see if I can sort this out. Actually, last time I enabled developer mode, I had a big issue where it kept insisting on showing the FPS. So I'm actually a bit nervous of doing that now because I couldn't get rid of it. Right, through 10,000 feet. Get rid of those landing lights as we accelerate. Seatbelt signs. Well, the nose is low. Yeah, we're going to do a turn, but that's no problem. And it's smooth air, so seatbelt signs can go off. Passengers can walk around. Lovely. Away we go. Victor Tango says, did you fly through liquid nitrogen? It does look like it, doesn't it? I mean, that's such a shame. I was really hoping we wouldn't have that today. Amazing, amazing cloud graphics, though. Again, I always talk about this too much, but they look so spot on. I don't know how they've done that. Yeah, so what happens is if I enable developer mode, I get the FPS counter appear and then it won't go away, and that means you'll end up spending the whole stream staring at this big panel. So I don't want to risk that glitch for the sake of the ice. That's a shame. That's a shame. But still, we did enjoy it on the ground before we set off. Uh, 247 Dan Air 247 is type Igloo. Yeah, it does look like it. Oh well. Jonathan L, thanks for coming along. Great city. Also, Corfu is stunning. So this flight is basically between two of my favourite places on Earth. Fantastic. Oh, we've got another alerts there. Sorry if I've missed anything. Let me just check what happens there. Why is it running behind? Simon Fisher, thank you very much for €2.29 donation. And that's very kind of you. Really appreciate it. And sorry that I missed if I missed that initially. But thank you, Simon. I hope you're doing well. And yeah, thank you very much for your kind wishes and your donation. Really appreciate it. Oh, there we go. It did come through. Sorry, yeah, my stream software found it earlier than YouTube seemed to. Good stuff. Here we go then, up to 370. Round that turn. Glorious day here. Again, I've set it to daylight because I don't want to go to Corfu in the night time. Even though you absolutely could. Lauren V says, yes, things turned on in dev mode often require them to be turned off and sim restart for them to go off. Yeah, there you go. Okay, that's good to know. I'll have to do a bit more testing with dev mode before I can do that. Alexander says, how do you calculate weight and balance in real life? You will have a department in your airline that will do that because you won't have the time or the information to be able to do that properly. So there'll be a specialist sort of load and balance team that will set these things up for you. And then your load sheet will arrive, and then you'll be able to set up your performance accordingly. Cool Drone Shot says, is there any procedure guide for the 320 NEO so you can just follow it, because it's hard to remember everything? It takes a bit of time. I've got lots of tutorials on the channel, so you can learn section by section if you like. Practice a few takeoffs. I've got a takeoff tutorial and a setup tutorial and so on. That's one way of doing it. Otherwise, there are some good virtual airlines out there that help with training, I believe, as well. Ollie says, hi, when going from toga to thrust climb on takeoff, is it important to start lowering the nose before reducing thrust to avoid stall, or is it done simultaneously? No, when you're going from toga to thrust climb, so on takeoff, we go from either toga or flex MCT, one of these, and then when we get through our acceleration altitude, sorry, our thrust reduction altitude, we then bring them back to climb. So on this takeoff, we reduce the thrust and we lower the nose to accelerate at the same time. Now, it is possible with certain noise abatement procedures to have different thrust reduction and acceleration altitudes. If I go to the go around page, you can see here, I could have a thrust reduction altitude of 1,000 feet and an acceleration altitude of 3,000 feet, and that's totally fine. In this case, you would reduce the thrust at 1,000 feet, but you'd still have the nose up. You'd have to lower it a bit, obviously, because you'll have less thrust, so you'll need a lower nose attitude. But you can reduce the thrust and then lower the nose. I mean, you've got to be ready for it, obviously. I wouldn't reduce the thrust and look away. But you don't have to immediately lower the nose and accelerate, because in some circumstances you won't accelerate until you're higher up anyway. So you'll lower the thrust, and then as a result you'll have to lower that nose a bit. So yeah, it's not just one of those things. Yeah, just one of those things. Thank you all for coming along. Thank you all for the likes. Really appreciate it. I hope you're enjoying it. Loads of things going on in chat, so I do apologise if I've missed anything. But yeah, we are going to Corfu. Hopefully the overlay is working now. Apparently there is a checklist for the Microsoft Flight Simulator. Oh yes, I heard someone put it on Discord as well. Apologies. There is a guide or checklist that you can use that will take you through each thing. The other thing you can do, of course, in this mod is go to these checklists here and run them step by step. So the built-in checklist now, if you have the A32NX mod, and the magic of this is, I'm not sure actually. Some of the things you can click on and it will highlight it for you. Yeah, which is really clever. Not everything though, but yeah. So that is available. fantastic view. Do you have a flex takeoff temp calculator you use, says John Stanley? No, I don't, sorry. I pretty much make it up. I would probably say that was not that flex temperature was probably too low for a tailwind takeoff. You'd probably have more, a lower temperature, so more thrust. The reality is the flex feature doesn't make any difference to the thrust you get in this mod at the moment, I do not believe. Kai Stoneman says, how do you read the METAR? That's a good question. That is a good question. If we jump into our view and look at our torn off piece of paper, fantastic. We're all very excited about that. Absolutely. We should be. It's amazing. We've got our METAR for Corfu. So it says LGKR. That's the code. That's the ICAO code. It's confirming that we have the right airport. Then we have the date that it was issued. So the 26th of January. Then we have the time it was issued, 1620 Zulu. Then we have the wind, 29013. And it will always be in that format. So it might say 03013. They don't miss any digits. Then we have 9999. That just means the visibility is 10 kilometers or more. That's 9,999 meters. So it means that the visibility is that or more. So Gosh, thank you very much for your £5 donation. Really appreciate it. A question here which I can answer for Sir Gosh before going back to the METAR. Sir Gosh says, does the plane auto manage the flaps during takeoff using the flap trimmable horizontal stabilizer setting in the MCDU? No, the airplane does not. So the airplane on takeoff, and I have a takeoff tutorial on my channel in Microsoft Flight Simulator which talks about that. We entered flap 1 in here, but that is just helpful in the real aircraft as sort of a reminder. It helps the airplane confirm you have the right flap setting set. It also, in this mod, it enables the MCDU to give you those correct takeoff speeds for your flap setting. But the only thing the aircraft does automatically with the flaps is, on takeoff, when the speed accelerates above 210 knots and you're in flap 1, like we took off flap 1 today, as you go through 210 knots, if you still haven't brought those flaps to 0, which might be correct, for if you're heavy you may not have, through 210 knots it will retract the flaps to 0 but leave the slats out. But in general, we have to do the flaps ourselves, so we have to move them at the lever all the way up to 0, always, yeah. Flaps in gear, there's no automation of those. And that's it. But thank you very much for your £5 donation, so gosh, really appreciate it. Right, let's get back to our METAR. So we have ICAO, the date 26, the time 1620. This could be really tiny for you guys to read. I do apologise if it is. Maybe that will help. So the date, the time, Zulu, so Z, it just reminds you it's in Zulu. Then we have the wind, 29013, visibility 9999, which means 10 kilometers or more. So it could be 40 kilometers. There's no way to tell. It's just pretty good. This could also say things like 2000. You know, it could be misty sort of day, or even 0500 and 500 meters in fog, because this is done in meters. Then we have few, 045, few 4,500 feet. It can only say certain things. It can say few, scattered, broken, overcast. So few means, well, oh, goodness me, the definition of what they actually mean is escapes me now. It's done in octaves, so eighths of the sky coverage. But there's different categories for few, scattered, broken, and overcast, and I will definitely get them wrong if I just guess. But effectively, few means the least clouds, and there could be no clouds as well. NCD, no cloud. And if you have good visibility, 9999, and NCD, you may get, instead of this, you may actually see CAV OK, ceiling and visibility OK. That means the visibility is greater than 10 kilometers and there's no clouds below 5,000 feet. In which case they can replace both of those with just CAV OK. Right, let's do a bit of a flying check. It's looking reasonable. That tailwind's really picking up for us. So that would be that. So 10 kilometers or more visibility, few 4,500 feet on the clouds, temperature +9 / dew point. So this is the temperature on the left, dew point on the right. The reason they give you both is to show you where the icing or the condensation point is. So if the temperature in Corfu, which is currently 9 degrees, suddenly drops to 4 degrees, then you'd get fog. So sometimes you'll see this and it will say 4 and 4, and then the visibility will still say 9999. But what that would be to a pilot would mean that if that temperature is very close to reaching the dew point, then we could suddenly get fog forming. So that's why they give you the dew point as well. In really hot places, sometimes you can see temperature 25 or 35, dew point 20, 25, 30. They can be close to each other even when it's very hot. And sometimes on a really dry day, one of those really hot, dry summer days, you can have 30 and 10 or 5 or whatever you need when there's not much moisture in the air. Then QNH 1003, no SIG, saying no significant weather. That means there's no TS, thunderstorms, or snow, SN, or towering cumulus, TCU. So there's loads of different codes out there that you just end up getting familiar with. But every now and then I have to look one up. When we went to Cairo, it was talking about sand. So there was a different code which I had to look up to remind myself, because not all of them you'll know off the top of your head. But yeah, so that's all that's saying, really. Hope that makes sense. Right, 33, still roaring up. Excellent climb performance in this mod. Let's display the airports. Our radnav was already clear, and our secondary, we would copy the active into there. Probably doesn't work right now, which is fine. Arcavian says, what do you think about the current state of the flight model? Should I use it for practice before I go in for training? No, I wouldn't. No, it's not a study level, and I know I've talked about that phrase in the past, but it's not a complete flight model. They're still working on it very much. So no, none of this should be used for real world flying. It's not going to do you any favors, I wouldn't say. Bryce Burt, thank you very much for your $19.99 US donation. That's very kind of you. Thank you very much, Bryce. Bryce says, my buddy flies the A330 for Hawaiian and taught me all the cockpit flows, since the cockpits are pretty much identical. Love watching to see what you do different. I'd assume different airlines have minor differences. Bryce, that's very kind of you for your donation. Thank you very much for your $20 US donation. Really appreciate it, and it all helps out the channel. That's very kind. Thank you. And fantastic to hear your friend flies for Hawaiian, which sounds like a great job on the A330. Brilliant. That sounds like great fun. So the A330 is very similar. There will be differences. There'll be things they focus on that we don't focus on so much. They'll have oceanic, they'll have different sort of clearances they need to take. But yeah, the flows, such as the overhead panel, I imagine are very similar. I know the 330 overhead panel does look a bit different as well. Most of this area looks very similar. But yeah, there will be differences, and there will be differences in the way airlines do things as well. I'm not using any airline SOPs when I do this. I'm mixing it up between the airlines I've worked for and just doing it single pilot as well, because it's a little bit tricky. You can't do it perfectly, of course, when there's just one of you. But the thing is, airlines will set up their procedures according to what they experience. So an airline like Hawaiian, who presumably is dealing with a lot of oceanic stuff straight away as soon as they leave Hawaii, will have procedures on the ground for that being set up, all very neatly done, and that will be a focus. I'm guessing, but airlines that operate into large international airports will have procedures that work for those, whereas airlines that operate into small regional airports will have, again, different procedures. So even though they're all flying the same airplane, and they will mostly follow Airbus, so they'll be very similar, but the people who design the procedures may have some slight differences to make it work for that situation. So yeah, there will be some, definitely. And of course, the 330 being long haul will have its own world of procedures that I think my 350 stream proved I'm not familiar with. So yeah, but thanks for watching, Bryce, and thank you again for your US $20 donation. Very kind of you. Gruxan managed to get an RTX 3070. Excellent. So graphics cards still very hard to get hold of. I got very lucky to get hold of my one. So it's good to hear people are managing. Yeah, excellent. Kai says, yeah, thanks Kai. I'm glad that helps. Sorry, yeah. Random fam says, how are you, mate? I'm new here. I'm doing very well. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming along. I hope you enjoy the stream. Again, sorry if anyone subscribes. The subscription notifications aren't coming through. I haven't worked out why. They seem to work when I'm not streaming, but when I start streaming, they seem to collapse. So I have to figure that one out. Ubizon has a good point. On the METAR, there can be more than one cloud layer, of course. Yeah, that is a good point. That is a very good point. It won't just show you the lowest. So it could say few 4.5, scattered 5,000, something like that. They don't tend to report the higher up cloud layers. They rarely bother, or they basically never bother to say something like, I don't know, broken 20,000 feet, something like that. It's just not relevant for the approach and landing. Yeah, good point. Scandara says, looks like I'll be able to watch the whole stream. The left engine on the CRJ200 I'm on won't start. Oh dear. Well, yeah, fantastic. Sorry to hear that your trip's going to get delayed, but great to hear you'll be joining us on the stream. Oh, that ice. That is frustrating. That is really frustrating. Now, this is an amazing effect, again. Now, you all tell me when you're bored of me talking about the weather in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but this is something I look at two things all day. I look at the inside of the cockpit and the weather. So the way these cloud layers cast these shadows is just perfect. It's incredible. What a difference that makes. It's so good. So good. Yeah, and you do get these sudden layers where air masses are meeting and suddenly you get the clouds form and so on. I don't know where they get the information from to do this. Andy Robinson, thank you very much. Andy's with your $10 and $9.99 donation. Very kind of you, Andy. Andy says, home on lunch and caught the tail end of the printer demonstration. I'll have to catch the rest after work. Thanks as always. Thank you very much for your donation, Andy. And yeah, we'll have to do some more printing soon, but you'll be able to watch that later as well. So thank you very much for your donation, Andy. And I hope work goes as smoothly as it can for you today. Very kind, Andy. Thank you. Really appreciate it. That's very kind, yeah, very generous. Thank you again to Andy, and thank you to Bryce for your donations. Very kind. As Al says, would you have your own home cockpit? Well, no, I wouldn't have. The reason I bought the Thrustmaster sidestick and throttle is it's the most common. No, it's the second most common question we get on the channel. Especially when it came out, I was being asked all the time, and I didn't have an answer for anyone, so I wanted to get hold of one to give a sort of better understanding of it, because people constantly ask, is it worth it, is it right? So yeah, so I've done my preview video. I'll do a full review a bit later once I've gotten a bit more used to it. What's your previous graphics card? My previous graphics card was a RTX 2060 Super. Yeah. So that was actually doing just fine in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but the 3080 is helping with the high resolution for the videos. The streams obviously are done at 1080, but the videos are done at 1440 now, and with high graphic settings, which has helped definitely. But to be honest, my processor is limiting mostly. Yeah. EML Coaster says, are there any A320 mods in any simulator that you would classify as study worthy? Again, commonly accepted is that the best one is the FS Labs in P3D. I don't have it though, so I don't know. But study level is very tricky to define because airlines will have their own aircraft that are fitted in certain ways. So in terms of some of the basic stuff, yeah, I mean probably that one's pretty close. The Toliss is also really good, but yeah, I'm very wary of ever saying it's capable to study from, because that you can't be sure that these simulators are going to represent what the real airplane would do in exactly the situation you're in. It's just not how they're sort of set up, but they do an amazing job anyway. Joe Yip, thank you very much for your, I think that's Hong Kong $100 donation. Very kind of you, Joe. That's really kind. Thank you so much. Joe says, finally I can join your live and contribute to your channel. Your channel make my life much better, especially I can only travel in game. Would you consider flying to from VHHH or VHHX? I run in Old Kaitak runway every day. Joe, yep, thank you very much. That's really, really kind of you, and I'm glad you've made it along. I've seen your comments in the videos and the community post, so thank you, Joe. And to answer your question, would I consider flying VHHH or VHHX? Now, as I say, I'm a very short haul pilot, so I'm not familiar with many international codes. Is one of those Kaitak? But certainly we've got our long haul flight to the Maldives, but I'm considering where to go next. But I think I might start doing some flights internationally in the 320, but just flying around different parts of the world rather than being limited. And Kaitak certainly is on my list of places I want to go. I'm hoping I can get some Kaitak scenery to go and fly there, because I understand there is scenery for it with the lead-in lights in Microsoft Flight Simulator, but I haven't found it. I must look it up, or if someone puts it onto the Discord. But yeah, certainly it's a consideration. I've wanted to go there, maybe for a video or a stream. But thank you very much for your donation, Joe. Really appreciate it. And it's very kind words of you. Very kind of you to say. I'm glad the channel's helped you out this year. It makes a big difference to me to hear that. It's really kind. Joe Vaughan, good evening to you. Thanks for coming along. Fly to Brazil. Yeah, see Brazil. There's so many places we need to go and explore the world. I've said this before, and then I've come and done this stream. I appreciate, but I wanted to use the Dan Air livery. E-Boss went to the store to get the TCA left with the HOTAS Warthog side stick. Love it. Yeah, the HOTAS Warthog side stick is excellent. That has the proper weight to it, whereas the one that comes with the Airbus setup doesn't. But the one that comes with the Airbus has a much more believable shape to it. So it's funny. It's a funny compromise. Ether Master's computer cries when running this at 4K with all the eye candies turned on. Yeah, mine too. Mine too. Especially with this mod, I look at 30 frames a second quite regularly or below. James Cooper says, face it, you gave into peer pressure and bought the TCA pack. Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Timo Christ says, do you have any plans to try out VR for Microsoft Flight Simulator? I love it, but I doubt it will lend itself to streaming. So I've done a tiny bit of VR. I have one video where I show VR, which is in my Wacko review. I intend to do some more videos with it. In terms of streaming, no, I don't think that's going to be a sensible one. If I try, there'd be no way for me to chat while streaming, and also there would be the issue of just, it would be hideous for you guys to watch because the camera would have to be shaking around and the resolution's so low. So no, I won't stream it, but I am planning to do some videos with it definitely in the future. So there's a bit of talk. Bryce Bird is answering a question about turning the mode selector switch to ignition. But I've missed the question, so I won't talk, but that sounds like a reasonable answer. Someone says, Holzmichi says, does the NEO use a RAT turbine for emergency if the system fails? Yep, the NEO has a RAT turbine, just like the older aircraft. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. Bryce, oh there you go, Bryce Burt, $9.99 donation. Thank you. Oh, there you go. I happened to just read that your answer earlier. So thank you again for your donation, Bryce. Very kind of you for your $10 donation. Bryce says, someone asked about why you have it on ignition start. Good question about compressor stalls and turning the igniters on to keep the engines running. So, yeah, it's a funny one. It's something that in the older aircraft I very rarely had to do. So you can do it in flight. You turn it to ignition and it would say ignition up here. That's not model jet in the simulator. But what it's doing is it runs the igniters in the engines continuously. Now the engines don't need to run the igniters continuously because once the fuel is ignited, it sort of acts as its own ignition. They're incredibly simple in that respect and self-contained. That's why they have such good reliability compared to piston engines. They don't have to constantly spark. So you turn it to ignition to continuously run the igniters in flight, and you can do that and it would just happen and it's fine, and you could do that all flight, it wouldn't make a difference, but you don't need to, and we don't. However, when you put the engine anti-ice on in the older aircraft, or you put the flaps out, the ignition automatically comes on, but in a NEO aircraft it doesn't. So in a NEO aircraft you may find yourself actually putting it to ignition yourself more than you had to in the older ones, because in the old ones as soon as you put on engine anti-ice the ignition would start up as well, but they obviously decided for the NEO that wasn't necessary. So yeah, that's why we have to do it, and we do it sometimes, but the only reason you're going to do it in flight is if you think you need it because of lots of water going into the engines or severe turbulence. There's a risk of flame out from the turbulent air with the engines, or the disrupted airflow, or the amount of water going into the engine, which could cause a flame out, but that's again very rare. The other time would be on the ground. You might put it to ignition for takeoff because you're worried about how much standing water or water there is on the runway. Yeah, so that's why. So thank you very much, Bryce, for your $10 donation. Really appreciate it, and thanks for the help on that question. Oh, goodness me, you guys are far too generous as ever. Tristan Gray says, meant to donate for your last flight to Gatwick, where you certainly earned it. I second the Hong Kong and or Kai Tak comment. My home, love the streams and all of the info. Cheers. You're very welcome, Tristan. Thank you very much for your £5 donation. Sorry, for your £10 donation. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And yeah, the last flight, for those of you who saw it, we did a 6-hour stream, which was longer than I thought it would be. We flew from Gatwick to Ibiza and back to Gatwick in the fantastic Paddy livery again, the JMC livery. absolutely stunning. Yeah, and the last approach into Gatwick turned into quite an impressive one. We ended up with the airplane going slightly wrong, all at night in the rain after 6 hours of doing it, and then all the automatics stopped working and we had to do a raw data ILS where we couldn't see the runway and so on. So it was quite challenging, and air traffic control were not too pleased with us, which I don't blame them. But yeah, there we go. So thank you very much, Tristan, for your donation. Really appreciate it. And yeah, okay, Kaitak's getting a second vote. I'll take that on board. And another one, John Stanley, thank you very much for your $20 donation. Really appreciate it. John says, love all the videos and live streams. Appreciate all the details on operation of the system. Helped recall my A320 training from school. Bravo Zulu. Thank you very much, John Stanley. Really kind of you for your donation. Thank you very much. And I hope you enjoy the future streams and videos. But yeah, goodness me, far too generous, you guys. So thank you again, John. That's really kind of you. And I'm glad. I'm glad. I mean, my knowledge of the systems will vary, so I do appreciate that there's things I don't always get right, but hopefully we can just give, like I always say, my catchphrase in the start of the videos, hopefully we can give you that extra context just to your home simulations, just an idea of what we're trying to achieve when we use these systems. But yeah, thank you very much, John, for your donation. Really appreciate it. Thanks again to Tristan and Bryce. Look at that ice. Again, ice on the spinners. I mean, my goodness, I've never seen it that bad. But we know that by now. I mustn't talk about it too much. We all know that the icing system is too much. I'm going to have to experiment with that dev mode to try and make sure it's sorted for next time. Ollie says, I flew the first leg to Ibiza with you, watched the Gatwick approach and felt sorry for you after such a long stream. Yeah, the return to Gatwick was quite something, but it was entirely my fault. I was using the experimental version that, it's called experimental, not even development. So yeah, it didn't quite work out. But we managed, so that's always good news. James Cooper, thank you very much for your £5 donation. The pair has made its appearance, dancing away with one of the, I've forgotten the name of those buzzers things that you can blow into. I've totally forgotten the name. That's embarrassing. But thank you very much, James. Really appreciate it. And thanks for coming along again today. I hope you're doing well. I'm sure I've seen you in chat already so far. Thank you very much, James. Really appreciate it. Victor Tango voting for Kaitak as well. Okay, excellent. Joe Yip says, a silly question here. Does user a real thing in the MCDU or just one little thing in Microsoft Flight Simulator? No, USR waypoints are not real. They're just a Microsoft Flight Simulator sort of glitch. That's what top of my list of things I'd like to see change is just this routing and the MCDU flight plans get sorted out so that the arrivals are all tuned or able to be tuned properly. Yeah, sadly they're not at the moment. Tenzer says, how are you? I just wanted to ask if you make the flight plan in the game menu, does it copy over to the sim? Thank you, Tenzer. Yes, if you use the Microsoft Flight Simulator normal menu and you load in the flight plan and all of that, then it will be in here, yeah, which I really like, actually. I think that's a great feature for people starting out who don't want to use SimBrief and so on. You can do a whole flight in the Airbus using just a flight plan the game generated for you using real airways and a database. I think that's a great feature, yeah. Bryce again for the $4.99 donation. Thank you very much, Bryce. Really kind of you. Bryce says, had my private pilot's license since high school and just got out of A and P school to be a mechanic. What's A and P? What's A and P? But thank you very much for the donation again, Bryce. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I hope you get to carry on doing your flying. And excellent to be a mechanic. It's great. Yeah, I've done some mechanic stuff involved with airplanes anyway. Very limited, but I absolutely loved it. I still think about it. So yeah, it's great to get to know the machines a bit better, and the engineers know them obviously incredibly well. So anyway, thank you very much, Bryce. Really appreciate it. Very kind of you. Evening, Bacon Warrior. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming along. Good to see you over here. Enrico Bianchi, good to see you as well. No problem. Thank you very much for coming along. No problem being slightly late. I would say we were slightly early. We started half an hour earlier. Because often I haven't even got off the ground yet. And we also were a new record for getting ready and going. Because I failed so many other times to actually do that in time. Just lovely. Jason has a question. Jason says, now I must comment about this. I don't think it would turn like this. I've never sat in the cruise and had a 25-degree bank angle. The Airbus tends to draw out these turns. It won't actually overfly the waypoint unless it has to, unless you demand it. It will actually go slightly next to them and get a smoother, shallower turn, because a 25-degree bank turn would be quite noticeable in the cabin in the cruise. So yeah, so that's not quite how you'd expect it to be. But anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, I've missed it now. I do apologise. Paddy, thank you very much for your €5 donation. Paddy is our expert who runs the who makes these liveries and has done an amazing job. Thank you for your €5 donation, Paddy. Very kind of you. Paddy says, I made sure to clean up the stickers and leave the flight deck tidy for you this time. Please do the same and take your METAR scraps with you. Yes, thank you very much, Paddy. Yeah, this is a lovely, lovely clean flight deck. Sadly missing our 320 Simpilot stickers. In our JMC livery, which I will be using again, don't you guys worry about that. I've already got it into another thumbnail. We have some 320 Simpilot logos that Paddy kindly put into the flight deck for us. So a world first, as far as I'm aware. Certainly a world first 320 Simpilot specialist flight deck. So thank you, Paddy, and thank you again for this great livery. So guys, Paddy's just put a lot of work into these. They look absolutely fantastic. So do please follow the link in the description to go and pick up the livery for yourselves in Flight Simulator 2020 if you'd like to. And if you do, make sure to leave a nice review for Paddy there as well. And there's some more there I want to get used as well. But Paddy's been on a storm, got so many done so quickly. Bryce, again, another $4.99 donation. Thank you very much, Bryce. Airframe and power plant mechanic, airline mechanic. Oh, I see. Lol, think you guys call them engineers over there. Yeah, we just say engineers. Yeah, yeah. Fantastic. Excellent news, Bryce. So that's going to be an amazing job, and you'll know so much about these airplanes. We do have a few mechanics in the chat. We do have a few, including some specialist Airbus. I'm not sure if they're here today. Window seats. It's been a mechanic on all sorts of Boeings and Airbuses, but yeah. Thank you very much to Paddy and Bryce for your donations. Really appreciate it. Alex Barton, hello. Thanks for coming along. I hope you're doing well. Sergeant says, hey boys, I have a question for you. The clouds and the view look same as the real life in the sim. I'm going to say they're not. There's this grainy texture, which is a known thing in Flight Simulator, this slight graininess. Aside from that, yes, this is really good, really representative. And I mean, look at this. We've got the cumulus style cloud, and then we have the stratus style cloud mixing into each other. I don't know how they do it. I'm really consistently blown away by the clouds in this game, and they have all the different types here. The thunderstorms, I'm going to say, I don't think are quite spot on yet. I think there could be improvement on the thunderstorms, but I haven't seen many, so I won't be too harsh on that judgment. But yeah, but this is amazing. Yeah, and you get this sort of mixing of types, stratus and then cumulus cloud over here. Glorious. I was so impressed on the last stream. We were flying, I think, both directions in the top of the clouds, which gave an effect that you do get where you're skimming just the very tops and you get the wisps wisping by the windows, and it can sometimes be a little bit turbulent there. It's not always ideal, so you tend to try and climb or descend out of it. But yeah, it's very good. His window seats are our resident engineer, exactly. A window seat, otherwise known as Lord P on the Discord. And yeah, Paddy did make I think Paddy made a whole livery on during our last stream. So let's see what comes out of this one. That's pressure now. Darian, we are not running PAX add-on yet. So people are asking. I put a survey out. I think I mentioned it on the last stream as well. That people seemed interested, not for every stream, but people were interested to see sort of a bit of passenger management as well. So I'm going to give that a go. I need to test it out. So, but yeah, I've done a little survey, and it was 80% yes, 20% no. So I think with a little bit every now and then could be quite good fun. Hull says, could you do a video about holding patterns with the NEO? I haven't seen if the holding feature works in the MCDU. If I did a video on holding otherwise, it would just be a sort of raw data holding, which is not, it's just not something we do. It's so time consuming. If you found yourself in the aeroplane and you had to do a raw data hold, we could do it, but one pilot's going to be so focused and the other pilot's going to have to be so focused monitoring them, because presumably the aeroplane is degraded. You know, this isn't working and the navigation isn't working properly. I can't even think of the situation. So if that was the case, then you'd probably try and get radar vectors from air traffic control or do something different. But you may have to do it, I suppose. But what I'm really hoping is we see this hold feature, which is, it's shown here, but it doesn't actually fly. It's not last time I tried it anyway, enabled. But it's very simple if it works. Because all you have to do is choose your waypoint. So SASL, press hold, 157 right hand turns, and it would actually show you the hold there before you inserted it. But yeah, it hasn't been working for me previously. So when it does, I will definitely do a video on it, absolutely. Sky173, thanks for coming along, and Sky173 likes the livery. John Stanley says PACX is okay. It has some limitations, but adds a fun experience to the background. Yeah, there we go. Something we could do. Deslix, yeah, well, I know about the icing. We can turn down the icing in the menu, and I will do it one day. I just am nervous of doing it live, just because I had some issues with the dev mode last time I used it, and I don't want to get stuck with a big FPS counter blocking the screen for the rest of the stream, something like that. Sam AD, thank you very much for your, I think that's Australian, $10 donation. Very kind of you. Thank you very much, Sam. Sam says, how do you calculate thrust acceleration and where you get trip wind on any layout sim brief? Thank you for help. So, it depends on to get the thrust reduction and acceleration altitude, the standard would be, let me show you, this always goes wrong, but there we go, here's the charts. So, typically, it depends on the airline. Airlines will have a standard sort of system they use. Some airlines will use 1,500 feet above the airport. So, you need to know the elevation of where you're departing from. Now, does it show it here? Runway elevation? I'm not sure it does. Airport elevation, there we go, 122 feet. So you can see here on the chart, it tells us our airport elevation. So, if there's no noise abatement procedure, which is a whole other topic, if we're just working out what we want to use today for thrust reduction and acceleration, it depends on your airline. Your airline may use 1,000 feet, in which case, you take 1,000 feet and then add the airport elevation, because you want to accelerate 1,000 feet above the airport. So in this case, I'll round that up to 200 feet. So I'll put in 1,200 feet and 1,200 feet. That way the airplane will say leave a climb and it will accelerate at 1,000 feet above the ground. Obviously, if it was 1,500 feet my airline uses, then I would put in 1,700/1,700. Now, noise abatement is a different topic. Some airports will have ICAO noise abatement A, B, C, and in some of those, well, I say A, B, C, there's only two, but in some of those you will use slightly different figures. The most common being NADP-A, where you will use 1,500 feet above the airport for thrust reduction and 3,000 feet above the airport for acceleration. So that would be 1,700/3,200 in this context. So that's how you do it. You just need to know your elevation and then add on the altitude you want to accelerate at later. But most airlines will have a standard that they use unless they have to use noise abatement. Something to remember with that is that the real aircraft actually can calculate it automatically. You wouldn't have to fill it in. So I typed that in earlier. In the real aircraft, that would automatically fill itself with the corrected standard for my airline above the airfield, and it knows the elevation of the airport you're departing from as well. So very clever. So yeah, to get the trip wind on any layout sim brief, that's a bit trickier. I can't help you with every layout, and in fact I can't show you. I'm looking at the default Lido sim brief flight plan. So just to describe it to you, this isn't great. I just don't have a way to show it on the window at the moment with the way my stream software is set up. But is there a way to? No, it's not. So in the top right of page 1, it says a few things. It says there's a whole list. It says cruise system, ground distance, air distance, great circle distance, average wind component, average ISA. So in all of that list there is one that says average W/C, average wind component, and that said plus 15, P015. If it said M015, it would be minus 15, it would be a headwind. And that's why I put in the TL for tailwind, or plus 15. I could have also put in, I didn't have to put in TL, I can also type in plus 15, and it would have automatically converted it to TL 15. To get the plus, just press that plus minus twice to change it. So yeah, that's where it would show up. Anyway, thank you very much for your donation, Sam, and thanks for coming along. Robin Hood Aviation says, any chance you can do an emergency landing on your next stream? It would be great to see how a real pilot would cope. So an emergency landing is I mean, I've done some emergencies, sort of showing how we might handle them. It's the one thing I will say is it won't be representative of what would happen in the real flight deck. I can try and talk through it, and that's something I'm definitely considering for a video. The reason is the way emergencies are handled is when you need two pilots. That's how they're set up. That's almost the biggest reason for having two pilots is just coping with such a dynamic situation and the pacing and so on. Now I can definitely talk through it as if there is another pilot there, so it's something I'm considering, certainly. So yeah, I'll definitely something to think about. We've had some failures when we fly the Toliss in X-plane. We saw some failures going to Malta, and hopefully I showed roughly what we'd be thinking about. But yeah, and also what is an emergency landing, I suppose, because you could have an emergency landing because a passenger's sick. It doesn't mean anything's wrong in the cabin, but also the failure that leads to an emergency landing, they vary so much. Is it an engine problem, a fire? So it's something I might consider it's probably more of a video topic, probably. But yeah, thanks very much for coming along, and it's definitely something I've thought about. And like I say, we have a few failure videos on the channel already, but they're done in X-plane in the Toliss because it's got a much better failure system built into it. Oh dear. Yeah, the chart. Oh dear. Sorry guys. Luckily I wasn't pointing at anything on the flight deck, so there's nothing to show you. Well, glad to be able to join you again from Chicago with some snow. Oh wow, yeah, cold in Chicago, I can imagine. Thanks for coming along, Juan. Good to see you again. Right. Yeah, apologies for the charts, everyone. Richard Gardner, thank you very much for your $20 US donation. Thank you very much, Richard. Richard says, value for value. My mate who flies 320s is constantly amazed with how much I know. I learned it all from you and this community. I'm able to fulfill a childhood dream through Microsoft Flight Simulator, Flybywire mod, and your videos and streams. Thanks. Richard, that's amazing to hear. Thank you so much for saying so. Thank you for coming along to the stream, and thank you very much for your donation. Really appreciate it. Very kind of you. And that's just great to hear. It's great to hear that you've been able to enjoy the videos and enjoy the Airbus as a result. So that's good. It's good to know that your friend was impressed. That means I'm hopefully getting some of the correct information across at times. But yeah, very kind of you, Richard. Thank you very much for your donation. Really appreciate it. And hope you're doing well in America. Joe Yip, thanks for coming. Have a good night. See you next time. Brain slugs, yes, Navigraph is the plates program. And Richard as well, it sounds like you've been helped out by the community, which is great news, because as I always say, and guys, I get messages, personal messages on Discord, and I get them emailed to me as well about the Airbus and flying it and so on. And what I can recommend more than anything is if you have a question about the Airbus, when not on a stream or anything like that, and you just want to get an answer, the best way is not to email me. It'll be to ask on the Discord. Join the Discord community and find the section on there. We've got different sections for Flight Simulator and X-Plane, and now we have ATC and VATSIM and even a real world aviation bit. and you'll get an answer from some fantastically knowledgeable and helpful people always before I ever get to it. Because if you email me, it would take me ages to get around to you. So I do apologise. So yeah, if you've got a technical question about the Airbus you want help with, then that's the place to go to, the Discord, definitely. The community is so helpful. But yeah, thank you again, Richard, for your donation. Really appreciate it. Huskers66, thank you very much for your $3 donation. Very kind of you. Husker says, free Kaitax scenery, put site in Discord scenery. Fantastic. Thank you very much. That's great. Yeah, we will be going for a flight there. I knew that. I knew I'd seen some things about it, but I hadn't got around to finding it. Thank you very much, Huskers. Really appreciate it, and thank you for your donation. I'll certainly be going to check that out. Window Seat says, have you flown much in VR? This HP Reverb G2 is absolutely incredible, so clear and sharp. So yeah, I've been doing a bit of flying in VR. I've got the Oculus Rift S because it was on sale, and it came and plugged into my computer. All very happy with that. So that's been, I think I mentioned before, I've used PlayStation VR, and I absolutely love it. I'm a big fan of virtual reality, but this was the first time I've used PC VR for like a proper simulator, and yeah, it's amazing. It's so good. And I'm very lucky in the fact that my computer can run it quite well in Microsoft Flight Simulator, so I'll definitely be doing a video on that soon. But yeah, I'm glad your HP Reverb G2 is doing you well, Window Seat. I remember you were trying hard to get one of those. Dougal, that's very kind, and I'm glad the streams are still helping you out, Dougal. And I look forward to you flying along with your Airbus with us soon. Travel with Zane, hello mate, hello to you. Julio says, how realistic is the turbulence in Microsoft Flight Simulator? I seem to only get it going over bumpy and mountainous terrain. Yeah, well, that's pretty, pure, oh no, not like that. Not like that, I'm pressing all the wrong buttons. There we go. Right, pure clear air turbulence is a relatively, I mean, there's no rules to it, but you don't get it all the time. So this sort of gentle shuffling we're getting now, yeah, it's pretty believable. 30 knot tailwind, this could be completely smooth. But yeah, going over terrain, you can expect it. So, no, I think the turbulence system they have is quite impressive. Especially, like I've always said, amazing that it can take into account buildings and terrain. I've never seen that before, and that's a really impressive thing. Savage Haters, good to see you. Savage Hater says, I'm getting my homework done as I'm watching your stream. Excellent. I hope we're not distracting you too much, Savage Haters. Before you find it takes you 6 hours to do your homework because you're watching us. No, Lewis, we agree. The ice is too much. Yeah, the icing is unrealistic. That is agreed. Brini, thank you very much for your message. Brini says, you often say this is not study level, but your explanation of how things should be is nothing short of teacher level. That's very kind of you. But yeah, like I say, there's always differences, and something you learn in aviation is that there'll probably be more than one right answer to any sort of difficult situation, or even almost anything. There's more than one right answer, and it's just about taking that on board, and you might be taught to do it one way, and then a few years later you'll meet someone who does it a different way, and it could be that neither of the ways is better. It's just how things go. It's just one of those things. But yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Kai says, when could you do a how to do an RNAV, VOR DME and lock approach? I've done an RNAV video already. And if you go back in my channel, I have tutorials on VOR approaches, both track, FPA, and using final app mode. So I have videos on all of those actually on the channel, except for the localizer. I haven't done a localizer approach video. We did do a localizer approach. We've done one into a Reggio Calabria in the Toliss again. Now the reason I use the Toliss for those videos is because it is much better. There are a lot of things missing for those sorts of approaches in this aircraft, and we're about to do a VOR approach into Corfu and you're going to see what I mean. There are going to be some things missing, and we're going to do our best. In fact, I say about, how are we doing for time? 11:02. Oh, we're getting there in an hour. It's pretty soon. It's going to be time to start setting up. Caesar says, this aircraft, when it's close to the descent, we always have to set the altitude manually. It can't start the descent automatically. No, it can't start the descent automatically. No. You need to wind the next altitude into the window and then tell it a mode to get there. Yeah. Yeah, that's normal. That's normal. Because air traffic control, sometimes they'll say something like descend when ready. But usually the default... Sorry about that. Yeah, usually the default would be for them to say descend now. You wouldn't be expected to stay level until you choose to descend, unless they give you that option. Right. So Briony? Is it Briony Silver? I'm so sorry. I'm still getting the name wrong. I do apologise. To Briony? I'll try that one for now. Worry Lad, good evening to you. Thanks for coming along. Hope you're doing well. Booty2, good to see you. Thanks for coming along, Booty2. I hope you're doing well. Booty2 says, is it bad form to fly the RNAV approach rather than a VOR DME? No, definitely not. No, RNAVs are more modern. They tend to have lower minima, and they can do more complicated things. So no, RNAVs are... you'd be expected to fly the RNAV before the VOR these days. Yeah, they'd probably offer you the RNAV first. Russ says it would be great to see a video from you about choosing the correct runway based on winds, assuming not ATIS. Okay, yeah, interesting. I mean, the general rule for choosing the correct runway would just be the one with the headwind, I suppose, unless your airport is specific. Captain Runway 737 says, at what age did you know how you wanted to fly? Did you always know you wanted to fly with the major airlines? Yeah, when I was growing up, I mean, I always knew, as far back as I can remember, like many pilots, I wanted to be a pilot, I want to be a pilot, I want to be a pilot. And it's, you know, I was obsessed with it. And did everything I could to try and get there. And in terms of, did I know I want to fly for the major airlines? Yes, I wanted to fly airliners, absolutely, always. But I always said to myself all the time growing up, and it's something that it's easy to lose sight of because you're always pushing for the next thing, but I always said to myself, if I can fly, and that's my job every day, even if I'm flying, you know, even if I'm not flying airliners but flying something different, that would be my dream made. I'll be happy. So I consider myself incredibly lucky to have managed to do that, and especially to be able to fly airliners. And I hope that that many of you get the chance once we can get through the next year or so. Yeah, if you want to. Mark Maliniak, thank you very much, Mark, for your £10 donation. That's very kind of you, Mark. Thank you so much. Mark says, I look forward to you training your cats to fly the Airbus. Great videos, as always, keeping me sane in these difficult times. I'm so glad to hear that, Mark. I'm really glad the videos are helping you out. Thank you for your £10 donation. Very kind of you. I really appreciate it. The cat, you know, she's not here. She's asleep at the moment, I think, but she does appear regularly on the stream. She's been a bit quiet lately, but she was in my... If you haven't seen my cat, who appears audibly in the videos anyway, she's a very loud, noisy cat, then she is in my latest video of my first impressions of the Thrustmaster joystick, my first live action video, as it were. But thank you very much, Mark, really appreciate it, and great to hear that the videos are being helpful for you, and thank you for your donation. Let's have a check if there is any air traffic control in Corfu. Probably not. I mean, I'm not very good at choosing destinations in terms of having ATC. There is in Athens. Corfu looks quiet. There's just some traffic already there. Yeah, no problems at all. Where's our queue? Oh, there looks to be some sort of events on. Where's... trying to find us now. I'm not sure. I'm not very good with the Not very good with that map. Can't see us right now. Corfu being one of the more northern Greek islands, so not too far to go to get hold of it. Miles Fisher, good evening. Thanks for coming. Got home from work. Hope you're well. 320 Sim Pilot. I'm doing very well. I hope you're doing well, Miles. Thanks for coming along. Corrosive Moon, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming this evening again. Derek says, what are your sensitivity levels on the TCA side stick? I have linear sensitivity on the side stick in both axes. I'm doing that because Flybywire said to. Now they've updated the rotate law, which was much better on that takeoff. I'm going to have to do a bit more experimenting before I talk about it again, really. But yeah, I use completely linear for the side stick. Groxan, I'm glad you're enjoying the flight sim community. I agree, it is a very pleasant community. Everyone's been amazingly helpful. Corrosive Moon's all good. Good to hear it, Corrosive Moon. Mr. Espresso, thank you very much, Mr. Espresso, for your €10.99 donation. Very kind of you. I hope you're doing well. I hope you have your coffee this evening. Mr. Espresso says, hi, Capt. Flying along somewhere behind you. Fingers crossed I don't screw up the landing in Corfu, since it will be my first attempt there. So looking forward to the approach briefing. Love the stream. Yeah, it's going to be an exciting approach, and I'm glad you're enjoying the stream. Thank you again for your donation, Mr. Espresso, and thanks for supporting the channel for so long. It's really appreciated, and I'm glad you're still enjoying it. And yeah, we are going to have some fun, and I'm going to have to set up really now because I've been talking for so long. It will be time to descend soon, and I haven't even put in the arrival yet. But yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Espresso, for your donation. Really appreciate it, and I'm glad you're flying along. Should be good fun. Let me just see if there's anything else. Arai says, Warthog throttle or Airbus throttle. I have the Warthog stick. The Warthog stick is better feel. It just, as in, it has the right weight to it. So when you move it, it feels better. But the TCA stick has, obviously, it's the right actual shape, put it that way. But the Warthog stick is a better joystick overall because it's just made of metal, and it moves with the sort of weight and the dampening. It's not quite dampened, but it is closer, put it that way. Would be my opinion on it. I mean, they're both excellent. They're both perfectly good for what we're doing with them. Yeah, thank you again, Mr. Espresso. Very kind. Right. Oh dear, I'm going to struggle to get through this. Right, Kai says, make sure to inform passengers about 90 miles to road on waypoint that there is a big hole in the ground. Is there? Is that a bug in Microsoft Flight Simulator? Oh, there we go, passing over these fields. Yeah, you do get these sort of effects with the agriculture. Amazing the impact it has. Some parts of the of Europe just suddenly change into this very orderly field pattern. Yeah. Caesar says, in the cruise, can we let the throttle MCT max? Is there any issues on doing it? No. In the cruise, leave it in climb, because then the auto thrust is engaged. If you're going to go manual thrust, which we could do, you would move the throttles to the thrust setting you want. Then you would disconnect the auto thrust like that by pressing the little red buttons, and then you'd hold it there. And to re-engage, we're going to arm the auto thrust and put them back into climb, and then it goes back to Mac. So you wouldn't put them to MCT, because if I do, you can see auto thrust is written here. That's the auto thrust range. If I go above CL, then I'm not in auto thrust range anymore. So what happens is we're just commanding MCT, so it's too much thrust, and we'll start to accelerate. And it tells us it's manually commanding MCT because there's no auto thrust available. So put those. Oh, so they were there. Put them back to climb, and now we have Mac again. So no, there'll be no reason to put it to MCT in the cruise. David says, good luck, we're all counting on you. Yeah, no, I'm just avoiding talking about it so I don't have to face the music. The Evil Cookie says, hey, just wanted to pop in and thank you for all the videos. They have been very helpful and informative. That's very kind of you. Thanks for coming along to say so, The Evil Cookie. I'm glad you've been enjoying the videos. Good to see you here. Thank you. Dougal says, I'm actually going to try a slightly lighter weight spring in my Warthog. Oh, interesting. Yeah. Now, I think it's fine for me, but I can see it. It's not, you know, it's a bit of an awkward shape, the Warthog, to move around a desk and so on, because of course the real Airbus side stick, you have your whole arm level with it, and that makes it very easy to manipulate it as you want to. So it doesn't matter that it's a bit heavier. Yeah. Ethan Master, thank you very much for your £2 donation. Really appreciate it. Ethan says, if you can use some exotic booze as a bar in. Very good. Thank you very much for your donation, Ethan Master. I feel like I'm so slow at getting these references. Oh, there we go. People are talking about Honolulu. Alexander, thanks for coming along. Enjoy your class. Ghosty Demon, thanks for coming along. Ghosty Demon has to head off for now. Enjoy the rest of the flight. We'll catch up later on. Thank you, Ghosty Demon. See you next time. Thanks for coming along. Where are you now? We are heading down to Rodon. If I go to our chart, a bit bigger. There we go. Not quite at the Adriatic coast yet. There's Rodon, and then this is Greece here. There's obviously Italy, and we've been to a few of the airports along here. Croatia. Alex UK, no, there's no contrails in the game that I'm aware of. I think that's just the exhaust showing from the ground. Same effect that's always been there. No, there's no actual contrail. Right. Right, here we go then. I'm going to put the chart up, which, as you guys know, will mean that I'm going to forget it. So look forward to that coming later. Let me delete out the Berlin ones. Okay. How do I get to the flight page? There it is. Right, chart's coming up on your screen. I can only apologise. So, obviously we're going to Corfu here. I had loads of information to tell you about Dan Air as well, actually. So we'll do that once I've done this. I always think I have loads of time, but then we end up talking. So our start, I'm expecting to come in via Pitas. Oh, there's a lot of arrivals. That is a lot of arrivals for such a small airport. So I was told Pitas 2 Charlie. Let's see if we can find that. 2 Papa. Now, as there's no controller there, I'm actually going to be quite fussy. I'm going to choose the one I want because, well, we're coming in from the north. That's why we need Pitas. Right. No, that's going to be too slow. No. No. Yes. So the 2 uniform, that's an option. The 2 alpha, that's an option. And what I'm doing here is we're coming in via Pitas from the north. The 2 tango. Again, I always say, everyone asks, how do you do charts? This probably isn't the answer you wanted, but sadly this is quite common. Right, okay, here's another one. So, no, I don't want to do the 2 Charlie. I'm not doing the 2 Charlie. So, we're coming in from Pitas. Effectively, we have to be at 9,000 feet Pitas to the VOR. We fly the 346 radial to the VOR. It doesn't seem to make much difference which one we choose, to be honest, although that one's a bit lower, 4,500 feet. That's interesting. Yeah, okay. I'll take the lower one, 4,500 feet to the VOR, and this one 4,500 feet to the VOR, and then to the Kira. So, I don't know. Okay, so we're gonna do the. To those of you flying along, PTAS2 Alpha makes sense, nice and simple. Then, what are we going to do after that? What approach are we going to do? So we have the RNAV here, but I haven't tried the RNAV. It starts at Direx and heads in. So I want to do the VOR today, as we have track FPA available to us now in this mod, and I'm going to give it a go. You can see the VOR Zulu starts from the Kira VOR, but we're not doing that one. I have tried this one out. It's a bit difficult because we don't actually have all the VOR facilities we need in the Airbus to fly this as efficiently as I would like. But having said that, yeah, no, we're going to come to the VOR and then we're going to do the overhead procedure. Something like this, but we might just turn it into a visual, and I'll explain why in a minute. So, we're going to arrive at this VOR at 4,500 feet. Then we're going to head outbound, tracking 144 from the Golf Alpha Romeo VOR. We're going to do that out to 9 miles Golf Alpha Romeo, at which point we should make a right turn with a maximum speed of 185 knots, background to point in at 9 miles, and then head back in and up at 343, which is our final approach track. Oh, I can see the engine spooling up and down. Nope, looking good still. So, this is a tricky approach. I would think in real life I would use Final App for this. The reason I would use Final App is that the final approach mode is available to do this and it will fly it much better. But we don't have that available. It doesn't work properly in this sim. So we're going to do it manually. Now I've tried this and it's really difficult, and I'm going to cheat slightly. So what I'm going to do now for the rest of the stream is not what we would do in the real aircraft, because what you're going to see is if we head out to 9 miles Golf Alpha Romeo, so 9 miles out from this VOR, as soon as we leave the VOR heading outbound, we're at 4,500, we can descend to 2,900, our platform altitude. We're then going to turn inbound at 9 miles, we turn all the way around, intercept the inbound. The problem is we intercept the inbound at 9 miles here, but we have to descend at 8.8, so that's 0.2 miles. So it doesn't give us enough time to prepare and start our descent properly. It would be possible in the real aircraft, but there's two issues. Firstly, you could actually intercept that track, which if you're flying it like we're going to fly it, is not as simple as just turning around. You don't line up perfectly. You have to do a bit of an intercept. Secondly, you find that this aircraft, that the mod has a slight issue with the autopilot, which we'll see, where it doesn't quite start down when you ask it to. You have to select a mode and then do the start down. So yeah, so it's quite tight in. There isn't an approach that goes further out. There is an approach that comes in via the Kira VOR, but I've tried that one as well. It didn't make too much difference. So effectively, we have to go out to our 9 miles and back in. Now, I'm hoping we'll be visual, and probably this is something you would do a VOR sort of straight in. So the uniform is an alternative where you could just get yourself lined up and then fly in. But I thought it'd be fun to try the procedure, just to give a bit of a go. But this will show why I don't do these normally on the channel. But yeah, they're all via 9 miles, so we're going to do the VOR X-ray. So anyway, we're going to go outbound, 9 miles, turn around. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to cheat. Because there's no terrain out here, I know this isn't the procedure, I'm going to actually take myself a bit further out, as long as we're visual, and turn around and then intercept the 343 inbound from further out than 9 miles. Again, not following the procedure, not allowed to do that, but something that will just make it a bit more manageable for us. It's quite rare, it's very rare to see a procedure like this that will have you turning in so close to when you need to descend. That's what I would say. So it's a little bit unusual. Then once we start down, we're going to need to work out the required altitudes. So this is something you have to do because we're going to be managing this ourselves. And it's a steep approach, so I need to be fully configured as I start down. In fact, I need to be fully configured anyway because we're doing a flight path angle approach. But As we can see, it's a 3.4 degree descent unusually on this one. Helpfully, there's some distances here. So, for every mile, 2540 to 2180. So every mile we need to lose 360 feet. So we're going to start off at 2540. Then we're going to go obviously to 2180. Then we're going to go to 1820. 1460. 1400. Sorry, no, that's not right. 1100. So we're going to go 876. So what I'm doing now is I'm just writing this out for myself, because I need to have this available to me to cross-check. And this is something that you do in the real aircraft, because it doesn't actually give us all the altitude checks along the way. So 29, we're going to start at 29 at 9 miles, then start our descent at about 9 miles. Basically we start down at 3.4 degrees. Once we're going down, I'm going to need to check at 8 miles from the VOR I want to be 2540, 7 miles 2180, 6 miles 1820, 5 miles 1460, 4 miles 1100. And these are just to give us a guide. The reason this chart doesn't have more altitude to show us, because normally it would actually print these out for you, they'd be shown here, is because look at the minima, it's so high, we have to be visual at 2,000 feet. So effectively this is just turns into a visual approach. We're going to use the VOR to get ourselves lined up basically, and then we're almost quite rapidly going to turn it into a visual. If this doesn't work, if all the modes go wrong, which they could do because I've been trying, for example, if I wanted to do an FPA or a vertical speed now, I could turn this dial down and then I could pull it and it would start, but it doesn't work in this, which is really difficult for the approach. That's something I know the team knows about that and they're trying to get it fixed. Yeah, Victor Tango, we've got plenty of excuses fitted into here. Oh, you wouldn't have seen what I just did because I had the charts up. Maybe you did see it. Yeah, you did see it. Okay, just about good. Yeah, so minimum of 2,000 feet, so very high. So our excuse is we're just going to turn this into a visual approach if we need to. Hopefully that gives you guys an idea of the plan. Let me get rid of the charts and hopefully not accidentally get those in the way. Apologies if I missed anything, but yeah, I'll hopefully get round to some more questions as we get going. Chickpoint says, as I am placing taxiway signs, I was wondering, are the signs with directions always on the captain's side? No, no. Signs should, could be either side. So there we go. Let's go and set up the MCDU. First, we need the weather. So ATSU, AOC, weather requests. Let's send that off. I don't think there's a controller online. No, no one for us today. So, thank you very much, Nice West. Thanks for coming along and supporting the channel as always. €5.49 donation, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Nice says, in Navigraph you can visualize your aircraft position on maps charts by clicking the arrow in the upper right corner. Ah, very good. Thank you very much. Yep, there we go. And it's going to draw us onto the charts. Oh, it says could not connect to the simulator. It did for a second. How strange. Nope, not working today. But anyway, thank you very much, Nice West, and thank you for your donation. Really appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the channel. As always, very kind of you. Okay, right, here's our METAR. Let's print that, obviously. Here it comes. So exciting. Okay. What have we got then? It's quite handy that Control 5 can show you this quite easily as well. So, now we can set up. So, we agreed the arrival, we're going to expect to do the VOR X-ray. Now again, this could all go very wrong, but I'm going to cheat. We're going to go further outbound to give ourselves room. VOR X-ray via Golf Alpha Romeo, which is correct, and the start we're going to use is the PTAS to Alpha. So many arrivals. Quite a lot of arrivals for one runway. P-test to Alpha. Vigar. There we go. Insert. Good stuff. Right, so that is loaded in. There's PTAS, GAR, outbound. So I could leave it in nav to do all this, but even then I know it doesn't work because I did try, and it's got the altitudes completely wrong as well. So we'll have to manage that ourselves and round to the runway. Good. RadNav page. Now this is going to be important. So, sorry everyone. Have some charts. First of all, we can fly PTAS to the GAR in this sim, no problem. We'll contact ATC in just a second. But then we're going to go outbound on 144 from the Golf Alpha Romeo. So definitely going to need the Golf Alpha Romeo tuned. Golf Alpha Romeo, which is 108.8 as we can see. And the course is going to be 144 initially, so I'm going to put 144 and then we'll swap it around once we're heading outbound. Normally I could put that just on VOR2 and use that, but it doesn't quite work like that in this sim, sadly. There we go, and we don't have an NDB we're going to use for that approach. Hopefully that will retune later as we get closer. Okay, we'll carry on with that in a second. Let's get rid of the charts and let's bring up ATC before I get in trouble. 130.55.
Good evening, Adria Radar, set squawk 5341.
5341, Sunset 182.
There we go.
Lufthansa 272, radar contact level 255. Confirm your destination Lima Golf Kilo Romeo.
Destination for Lufthansa 272 is affirmed. Golf Lima Romeo.
Lufthansa 272, may I ask you why are you already descending? You have like 190 miles to Pitas where you have to be at flight level 110, so why the descent already?
Sounds like the controller's giving out arrivals.
We can stop the descent.
So,
Lufthansa 272, it's up to you if you want to descend, but I need you at Pitas, which is 180 miles from you. At flight level 110.
There you go. So the controller's insisting on 110 at PTAS. That is a 18-mile leg, so we'll be fine to get the height off.
272 descent flight level 110 to be over Pitas.
There you go. So that wasn't on our PTAS 2 Alpha, so let's see what arrival we get given. Could be something slightly different. Control, good evening. Dan Air 248, flight level 370 to Rodon.
Danair 248, good evening, Adria Radar, set squawk 5342.
Squawk 5342, Danair 248.
Sunturk 1182,
Okay.
radar contact.
Let's see if I can do this with my fancy radio panel.
Adria Radar, good evening. Small Planet 179er, flight level 370.
5342. It works, look at that, fantastic.
Adria Radar,
I'm very happy with that.
5344.
Very happy with
Squawk
that.
5344, Small Planet 179er.
Danair 248, radar contact, expect Pitas, flight level 110.
Expect PTAS, flight level 110, Danair 248. Okay, 110 PTAS, that's fine. So that tells me that we're going to be kept here a little bit. So PTAS is there. Again, you could just put that in the real aircraft. I don't know if that's going to work in this, but this has PTAS at 370. That's no good. If I put in /110,
Hello there, radar.
that should make that work. No, let's try here. Flight 110. Oh, it's
Berlin
taking it.
257, good evening.
PTAS
Adria
110,
Radar, squawk
but then it wants us to be at
5345.
370 after that. So yeah, not quite working out.
5345,
But that's fine. We'll do our best once we get going. Still quite a way to go. So from PTAS, it will be a pretty rapid descent down. I'm not sure. Does that mean this controller is going to give
Berlin
us
257,
a
radar
specific
contact.
arrival? That makes me nervous. We need to know which VOR we're going to do. Otherwise, if they want us to do one of the VORs we're not set up for, I may just ask for a visual approach. That weather, if we can get down to 4,500 feet. Oh, scattered 4,000. Ooh, it's pretty cloudy. 10 degrees. Anyway, let's finish setting up. So RadNav, we've got our outbound and we've tuned the VOR. It should tune the code there correctly, but it hasn't yet. Progress page still doesn't work. I'll just try one last time in case. I always try every stream because we're obviously going to see if that works. That would be useful, but no, we can't type in for a distance yet. Fine, so performance. See, this is where we probably pushed it too far. We'll see what we can get away with on this. QNH 10. Oh. QNH 1004, temperature 10. Wind 31014. It's a windy day from the north, so we're definitely going to land in that direction. Minimum was 2,000 MDA. Somebody asked, do the trim wheels move like that in the real airplane? No, they don't move this much or this aggressively. No, this is a bit of a bug at the moment. They're moving way too much.
Adria radar, good evening.
Okay, if we go around, quite a complicated to go around. It's effectively a right turn. Maximum speed 185 knots, track 159, so basically the opposite way. Intercept the radio 114 GAR to 18 miles GAR, then another right turn, intercept and follow 20 DME arc to GAR, or from GAR, sorry, and when passing the 182 radio, turn left to get the 226 to KRK, at 21 KRK turn right. I mean, it's ridiculous. That is one of the longest missed approach procedures I've seen. I mean, you'd have time because there's some long legs on there. But anyway, the important bit is we're going to climb to 4,000 feet if we need to, which should keep us below the clouds. Okay, goodness me, let's see what happens. Yeah, we'll see what we get away with in the simulator. I may cheat and just make the weather nice and do a visual, because the reality is that the track FPA features on this are there, but they're not quite perfect yet. Anyway, it's a short runway, so medium auto brake, flat full landing, and we'll go for maximum reverse this time. Right, flight plan, RadNav, progress, performance, fuel, loads of fuel, 4.4 extra, secondary doesn't work yet. Okay, we are getting there. Now I'm just going to ask the controller and control for Danair 248. Do you have any specific VOR procedure you're going to expect us to fly in Corfu?
248, unfortunately Corfu is not in our sector. This belongs to the Greek. We're only doing the Adriatic sector up to Albania, so at Pitas you will be released, but for now the Greeks are not online, so I can't help you with that, I'm sorry.
Okay, great, thanks. No, that's perfect, as long as the plan doesn't change for us at the last minute as we pass Pitas, so that's great. Thanks for your help, Danair 248.
Expect that it stays the way you planned.
Thank you. Perfect. Right, we'll stick with the plan then. So we're going to go out to 9 miles, but we'll go out, I think we're going to go out 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm going to go out to 12 miles, then turn around, intercept the 343 inbound. That's the plan.
Small planet 179.
Right.
Welcome back. I'm glad you're here, and
happy birthday to Graxan, who just had 52nd birthday.
For now,
excellent.
maintain level 370.
Thanks very much. Maintaining level 370. Small planet.
I have flown to Innsbruck at some point. More of man. Yes, I have. Yeah.
Victor Uniform Tango 65 with you at 350.
Victor Uniform Tango 65. Good evening, Adria radar. Set squawk 5346.
Set squawk 5346, Victor Uniform 65.
James Cooper says, what Logitech radio panel is he using? The one on Amazon I can find doesn't have the transponder bit. So the one on Amazon, I think that's the one I got, and you can actually turn the dial on one of the rows. There's 2 rows, and you can turn the dial all the way to the bottom to XPDR, and then you can change the squawk, which is really impressive. And the fact it works with Microsoft and X-Plane, you just have to download the drivers, the plugins, and it works straight away. I've been really pleased with it, actually.
Victor Uniform Tango 65 radar contact.
Although I must say, when I change the dials, they should do a click, and each click change the numbers. And I know some of the numbers aren't displayed because they only go to 2 digits on the screen. But even so, sometimes the dial doesn't click very convincingly, and it misses a change. It's not too much of an issue, but it's something I've noticed anyway. Right, so we have a plan for our arrival then. We'll do the VOR. We're going to descend from 8.8 miles. So how are we going to configure for that? Well, I am going to make sure. Okay, you're going to have the charts back.
7086, good evening, Adria radar, set squawk 5.
I'm going to fly outbound. We can be outbound almost any configuration, but after 9 miles I want to be flap 2, or at least putting out flap 2, 9 miles from the GAR. When we get to 12 miles I'm going to turn 270 and then intercept this radial inbound 343. As I said, not following this procedure. Then, once we're established on the inbound 343, I want to be gear down, flap 3, level at 2,900 feet. So, on base leg, I'm going to put gear down and flap 3 to make sure that we are slowing down and almost configured. Then, what I'm going to do is, about 10 miles, I'm going to go flap full, and then at 9 miles, I'm going to have to start the descent. You'd normally do it about 0.3 before, and then you could put the flap out if you wanted. It's not going to work today, just because of the way the automatics work. So, we shall see how it goes. But that's what we're going to do. So we're going to be coming in slightly longer inbound leg, and that way we can... we could pretend we're being radar vectored. I mean, that could be what could happen. They could radar vector you to intercept that inbound track. That is perfectly possible in a radar-controlled airport. So we will be fully configured by the time we start down, and then at 9 miles we're going to start down at 3.4. Then we're going to be watching our altitude carefully, and we're going to follow the numbers I've written down in front of me. And that's quite common. And in the real aircraft, you'd press this little printer button, slew here. This is it says slew, and it would actually just roll out some paper without printing on it. And then what you could do is you could write down these numbers onto that, and just put it in the middle. Someone asked about does it get lost ever? So does it fall into the gaps? What we actually do is we crinkle it a bit or fold the paper so it doesn't actually slide down in these cracks. And I talk about that a bit more in my video. It's coming tomorrow. You wouldn't have seen, you may not have seen a lot of that because I had the charts up, but there we go.
Starsky 110, good evening, Adria radar, squawk 5350.
AGC is a little loud. Okay, no worries, thanks.
Squawk 5350, Starsky 110.
I'll try and turn it down again. Fingers crossed that works. Oh no, Athens controller's online for Corfu.
Starsky 110, radar contact.
Oh dear. Here we go, coasting out.
Starsky 110.
So, Dan Air. Yeah, I've written loads of stuff down about Dan Air, so I want to say it. Dan Air, they're quite an old airline. They existed from 1953 to 1992. In 1992, they were bought by British Airways for £1 because they were not in great financial shape, so the debt and so on passed on to British Airways. They started in Southend, Blackbush, with a DC-3. They started with a single DC-3, but they managed to move on and become the second UK airline to get jets. They got the Comet, which Dougal, our very own Dougal, flew on, which is great. They were the first UK airline to get this Boeing 727. So they grew into a really big business. They were the country's largest independent airline in the 1970s. The reason it all sort of went wrong, they ended up with a bit of an inefficient fleet, and they had no tour operator. They did a lot of holidays, but they also did scheduled and charter flights and so on. But they didn't have their own holiday company, like you have Thomas Cook has Thomas Cook Airlines, or JMC, or Air Tours, or whatever it is at the time, Air World at one point. But they didn't have that, so that didn't work so well for them. And then they had a mix of old airplanes, lots of 727s, back 111s, 737s. They had an amazing list of airplanes. Over the years they flew, they had 707, they had the DC-4, the DC-7, which I didn't even know much about. Obviously the back 111. They even had the A300 B4. That was the only Airbus they had, the A300, pretty much the first Airbus. But yeah, a really surprising mix of airplanes. And as I said earlier, the reason we took off from Tegel was because they actually had a base there when they couldn't find enough work to use for their aircraft in the UK. They sent some to Berlin to be based there, some Comets to make some use of them. We obviously took off from Tegel, which closed on the 8th of November, which was when it had its last flight, because Berlin Brandenburg airports replaced it. We all know that airport has been delayed many, many years, issues with the fire system and all sorts. So yeah, really strange story, the Berlin Brandenburg airport, but it seems like it is up and running now. Tegel has been used for flying since 1914, whereas aerial reconnaissance was used by the German, I assume, army, but maybe Air Force. I don't know if it was an Air Force back then. Corfu is another airport, like many of these, that was set up during World War II as well in 1937. It's an interesting one, Corfu. It's it's quite well known amongst pilots because it's got this, there's no ILS. You've only got non-precision approach options, and I'm not sure there's always a radar available. In which case, you end up having to fly the full procedure, so you have to hold and wait for the aircraft in front. Because of course, if we're let me bring up those charts for just a second. If we are flying this procedure and there's an aircraft in the hold here, they can't leave this VOR and follow us until, well, it would depend on the procedures, but basically they're going to have to wait for us to fly around the procedure and basically be landing, because if we go around, we're going to go around underneath them. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange one to have a setup like this. Right, it must be time to descend. It must be 120 miles. But we're not going straight in. PTAS is at 110, so that is 26,000 feet to lose. So we need 75 miles plus 10. We don't need to slow down though. We need about 85 miles. So pretty much here, to be honest. Bit of a tailwind. Let's go to constraints. Shows us there. No descent arrow yet. I'm sure I've seen a descent arrow appear. I have seen it in this mod once. Right, apologies for the chat. I'm sure I've missed loads. Alex says, as a 320 pilot, so short to medium haul, how often are you away from home? Is there a way to be home every night as an A320 pilot? Yeah, there's some airlines where you'll be home every night on an A320, yeah, and there's some where you won't. It just depends. But short haul is more likely, long haul obviously less likely. But no, as a 320 pilot, being home every night. The regional airlines, flying even smaller aircraft, you're more likely. Although I'm talking about the UK and Europe here. These things could be different, and it depends on your airline. If your airline also has long haul, for example, KLM have aircraft that night stop all over Europe, even in their smaller regional aircraft. So it does depend on the airline. So just research the airline. Max says, my dude, just discovered your channel. I want to go all out in the 320. Want to learn everything there is to learn. With the NX mod, you rock, man. Your videos, everything I need. That's very kind of you, Max. I'm really glad to hear it. Thank you so much. I'm glad you're enjoying them. Lauren V has a good point. Berlin airports before the wall fell were only allowed airlines from the US, UK, and France. Yeah, it's an amazing piece of history. Simflyer, thanks for coming along. Simflyer says, Dan Air, beautiful livery. Went to Gibraltar as a kid on the 737-400. Yeah. No, I knew I had to use this. I agree, the Flybywire sounds are excellent. I can't believe it keeps happening. There's something about the way I have my screen set up. It just does not register with me at all. It doesn't show up at all. Okay, I need to get that descent in now. Danair 248, request descent.
Danair 248, descent level 130.
Descent flight level 130, Danair 248. 130. Down we go.
Austrian 7 Mike requesting standby for 5 minutes.
Thrust idle open descent. 130 blue. So Victor Tango, was it Victor Tango, asked, can you explain how track miles work? I completely forgot. So track miles are the miles you're going to actually fly. So we were told we want to be 110 at PTAS. Now normally I could just make the airplane do it. But the way to calculate it is how much altitude do I need to lose? So we're at 36 now. So that is 25,000 feet to get down to flight level 110. So I need to lose 25,000 feet. So times that by 3, 25 times 3, which is obviously 75. So I need 75 miles to do a 3-degree descent to reach PTAS. And 3 degrees tends to work out roughly at an idle, thrust idle open descent from the top of descent like this. So we're actually a bit too close to PTAS. And here I'm 35, 36. Yeah, there you go. So we have got 69 miles if we add those two together. 69 miles, we need 75. So we're not too far off. So we shall see how it goes. But I may need to use a bit of speed brake to make sure we reach 110 at PTAS. I would also add 10 miles for slowing down, but that is only for landing. So if I was calculating this to landing, that's what I would do. Kai is about to land into Corfu, so bye. Better butter that runway. Enough of the maintenance crew to sweep up the runway. Yeah, we shall see. Thanks for window seat. Thanks for those talking about the charts, and apologies. Good evening, AC455. Good to see you. Oh dear. So apparently Athena radar may cover Corfu for us. We shall see. Bad M, good to see you. Thanks for coming along, and I'm glad you're enjoying the livery. Yeah, that's Paddy did the kind work to give us that livery. Harold says, who normally initiates the descent? Is it ATC as just happens, or the plane indicating where top of descent is? The plane will give you a good indication, but you'll probably, in busy airspace, air traffic control will force you to descend because they'll build in a plan where they want you to be out the way, so they'll just send you below other aircraft earlier. In calm airspace, then you may have to ask, like I did there. That's quite common, because ultimately it's better if we ask, because we know when we want to descend exactly for a thrust idle descent. If air traffic tell us to descend, then it's slightly early or slightly late. So the ideal situation is we get to ask, and then in an aircraft that in the real Airbus, we would just let it fly the entire descent, managed it, can control it very well.
S792 Delta, good evening, Adria Radar, Squawk 5354.
James Cooper says, how do you find your current distance from a future waypoint? Well, again, in the real aircraft, sorry, this is going to turn into this today, and maybe I shouldn't have done this style of approach, but I would type in, the waypoint here, and it would give me the distance. There's a few ways, really. You can also do a fix info. That doesn't work in this sim yet either. It does work in the Toliss, but anyway, what I've done here is I've just added these up, so 18 plus 36, because it's 18 miles to Greba, which we can see up here, or 16 miles now. And it's then 36 to PTAS, 7 miles to the decel point, then 18 miles to the Golf Alpha Romeo, and so on.
Small Planet 179, I request descent.
Small Planet 179, descent level 170.
Descent level 170, Small Planet 179.
Serbia 92 Delta Radar, contact descent initially, flight level 200. Descending flight level 200, Serbia 92.
Fantastic view out the front, as ever. Can't help but be impressed.
Okay.
Mark's enjoying the livery as well. Used to like TWA and BOAC. Yeah, two other classic liveries. TWA is very nice. Paddy also made a lovely BEA livery. Yes, that's needs to feature at some point as well. Jorge says, hopefully we will have vertical profile calculations in managed descent soon in the fly-by-wire aircraft. Yeah, I hope so as well.
Daniel 248, you shortly in my space mountain Unicorn 122.8, goodbye.
1228, Daniel 248, thank you, goodbye. 1228, we're now on. Still enjoying my radio. Here we go, there's a bit of a build-up of a cloud. Casting a bit of a towering cumulus there, but it looks like Corfu Island, we can see, is in the clear, which is a big relief to me for my my planning. Alright, let's start zooming in. So did you guys hear the cat heard? Okay, good. It's funny, I mean, because I have headphones on when I'm streaming, so she doesn't sound as loud to me as maybe she does to you when the microphone searches for her voice. Okay, people are expecting Athens control to want to chat. Let's be ready for that one. Okay, I can see them. Sophia. LGGG, yeah, there they are. Okay. We'll be ready. Oh no. 129675. Let's find out what the damage is. Athens, good evening. Dan Air 248, descending flight level 130 to PTAS.
Air 248, continue your descent for approach runway 34. QNH is 1004. Next report on final with runway in sight.
Continue descent for runway 34 arrival into Corfu, QNH 1004, Wilco, down Air 248. Yes, that's the sort of controlling we like. That is perfect. Look at these mountains or hills, I suppose. Fantastic. So we're going to go right overhead. So next step, get to PTAS, and then you can actually see it being drawn on our navigation display. We're going to head outbound here. Oh, fantastic. That's such a relief.
Lufthansa 272, hello, flight level 110.
Lufthansa 272, your number 3 for the approach, and your separation is quite close. You will not make it with such a close distance to preceding two aircraft. Anyway, continue flight level 110 and I will advise you.
Continue 110, Lufthansa 272.
Have we overtaken
would you like
Lufthansa?
us to reduce to any particular speed?
I will not make a big difference. Most probably you will need to take up a hold before the approach.
Oh no.
Roger.
I hope I'll...
Are you in communication with the other pilots? Because Lufthansa 752 has not contacted me yet. Who is in front of you?
Lufthansa 272, unfortunately, no, we are not.
Roger, because unless he calls me, I cannot separate you, and that will delay your approach. Anyway, I'll give it a try.
Alright, and we will request visual approach vectors, if possible.
Lufthansa 272, I'm unable to provide you vectors because I'm controlling the whole FIR. You need to do the standard approach for runway 34. You can just choose which approach you prefer, but runway 34 is in use.
Approach for 34, Roger.
Okay, wow. It's, yeah, so this is an interesting situation. We're very close. What's going on, guys, those of you watching, is we're very close to the Lufthansa in front. So we are, I think, just behind them. I haven't seen them. They're flight level 110, so they are below us. And the result is, because we're all going to try and fly this procedure, this could cause issues because, as I said earlier, you actually need more spacing when you're all trying to fly procedurally.
Lufthansa 752, are you on frequency?
I do feel bad for the other people flying because I see we've got a Lufthansa 752 in front, and then I think that's the Lufthansa 272 behind us. But we are very close to the traffic in front of us, who is currently at 28,000 feet. So currently they're in front and above us. Can we see them? If they are watching the stream, Lufthansa 752, Athens is trying to talk to you. Why are there two landing light selectors, says Lucas? Is there a situation in which only one is used? I noticed in the 350 there's only one selector, but it's possible if one of them's broken you can just use one without the other one, so I suppose that might be why it's like that. So if one's broken you could dispatch with just one, something like that. That is probably why, but I noticed, like I say, the 350 only had one. I suspect that's because the 350, the landing lights don't have to fold out. So if one's broken and you use the switch, it doesn't matter. It just won't light up.
752, are you receiving voice?
Yeah, we're probably undercutting the Lufthansa 752, who's right in front of us. Should be right above us. I'm surprised. There they are. There they are. But anyway, we'll carry on until told otherwise by air traffic control, and we need to report final, which I'll almost certainly forget to do. Peter Fitch, yep, we are using the Thrustmaster today for a little test flight. You should be able to see it on TCAS, but the TCAS in Microsoft doesn't quite work. There they go, they're moving off to the left, moving out of the way. So apologies to you guys who've flown along. This is now turning into quite a complicated little arrival because of the situation with the other aircraft and the fact we have some air traffic control. But essentially we're going to fly straight through the overhead and then just out into a bay and then make a right turn back around to land. So if you end up just doing that visually, I mean, that's probably, I'm going to be really honest.
2558, contact
Here we go, 130. Now we're after Pitas. On the arrival I've chosen, we can descend to 4,500. So I'm just going to check that with the controller so I don't get in trouble. Down there, 248. Sorry, are we clear to descend with our procedure to 4,500 feet at this time?
Down there, 248, continue with your procedure of your choice. Just don't have full control of the other aircraft behind you. This is the reason. Continue as number 1 now for runway 34.
Okay, copy. Thank you very much for continuing number 1 for 34 down there, 248. Yeah, so in real life, it's highly likely the pilot's here because effectively, look at all the work I've given myself doing a VOR. We're going to have to be so many radials and timings and distances. And we could just look out the window in a beautiful day like this and fly a visual approach. So we may end up doing that. Anyway, down we go then. Let's give it a go. So yeah, to the aircraft following or flying around, if you're flying along as well, you may just have to fly sort of a visual. Yeah, the ice thing is still there, but it's hopefully will melt off. Temperature now almost positive. Almost positive. Right, time to set that QNH, of course. Oh, that's not working. Oh yeah, I'm pressing the wrong button. Right, QNH then we were told was 1004. 1004. Out blue. 4,500 feet. There we go. 10 miles to get... sorry, we've got 15 miles to get down to our platform. Seems reasonable. Speed's coming back. Going to be a little bit high passing overhead the VOR, so I'm actually going to use the speed brakes, which is something else I can do these days thanks to my fancy setup. There you go. Look at that. Brilliant. It is starting to melt indeed. David says, I just want to say good luck. We're all counting on you. Yeah, very good. We will arrive very soon, Sana, very soon. Okay, let's do our approach checklist. Briefing is confirmed. ECAM status is checked. Seatbelts. Oh yeah, good point. Let's get those seatbelts. Passengers sat down. Let's get those landing lights on as we pass through 10,000 feet. Seatbelts are on. Barrow ref is set. MDA is set 2000. And engine mode selector, well, we're going to leave it at norm. Oh, it's an ignition. We were talking about that earlier. There you go. Norm. That's what we need. I'm going to pull the frequency, the speed now. Now this is a new bug I found where it seems to do everything in increments of 10 suddenly, and you have to click to change it. I don't know if that's by design or what's happened. There we go. Right. So, first step, GAR 1088, course 144. We are going to fly 144 outbound. Let me bring up the chart. Right. Now I'm not going to show you guys the chart because I'll forget it and you won't be able to see anything.
There are 4 other aircraft inbound to
so I'm going to select that to VOR. There's 144. The airplane's doing this on its own, so that's fine. I'm going to select the VOR radial here, so now I can use this needle, and I want to track outbound 144. We're going to go out to 12 miles, slightly further than normal. So I'm leaving it in nav, but let's not. Let's convert over. Let's go track FPA. I'm going to... Oh, I'm not going to pull that track. Let's leave it managed. Let's try putting here. There we go. I'm going to just put it slightly to the right. I want my green diamond. There we go. Thrust open descent track to get me on to intercept this blue VOR radial. We're very close to the VOR, 1.6 miles, and heading away, so not very far at all. But we are high, so let's get those speed brakes out. Bryce Burt, thank you very much for your $4.99 donation. Really appreciate it. What's your flight number? Text incoming. It should work. Oh, I'm not sure. Sorry about that, Bryce. Right, there we go. Right, I'm going to have to focus up on this approach. Sorry, everyone. But thank you very much, Bryce, for your $4.99 donation. Appreciate it. Right, we've gone slightly right, so let's get that to the left. We're trying to get that on 144. A little bit fast.
Are you on frequency now?
Let's wind back to 220 knots. Full speed brake.
I was calling you for the last 5 minutes,
Oh
but
dear.
you were not responding. Anyway, continue with your approach.
These things happen. It happens in real life as well.
You are not separated with the other aircraft approaching Kerkira.
Alright, let's put out flap 1. Speeds below. Flaps to 1. Okay, so we're coming established now on the 144. We're only a couple of degrees out anyway. But we are in track FPA, so we are selecting that track. So let's go track 144 now as we re-intercept it. Bring those speed brakes in. Now we're heading outbound. We can descend down to our platform at 2,900 feet. So I'm going to keep that descent coming.
Alpaca 46 request descent.
Alpaca 46 descent flight
There we
level
go. As you can see, we're just out in this bay effectively. And there is the landing strip.
Alpaca 46.
Are we going to make this work? See, we're going to get to 12 miles. We are too fast. Let's get the flaps.
652 descent flight level
Sorry, speed brakes out more.
110
So as I said, we're going to go to 12 because I know this won't work otherwise. What I'm going to do now, inbound track 343. Let's type that in. 343. In it goes. So that is what we're going to turn around and try and intercept. Start slowing down a bit more. Get the rest of the flap out. Let's do 180. 190 should be fine actually. Still tracking 144, so that's all fine. As I said, we should have turned by now, but I'm doing this for a very specific reason.
Down there 248, you can make a shorter approach. That would help the other 5 aircraft behind you. Let me know when you're on final.
Wilco down there 248, turning base now. Okay, well, that's enough of that. We should be fine. We've got 1,000 feet to go. The speed is under control. I want to get more flap out soon, so I'm keeping those speed brakes out. I'm going to turn that track onto sort of an intercept base, and then I need to turn and intercept that inbound. As I said, this might convert to a visual at any moment. We shall see. We shall see. So turning, turning, turning. Okay, there's the level off. Speed's coming back. Let's get that back to 180. We're below the flap 2 limit speed, so flaps 2 coming out.
Hi there, radar. Berlin 257 with you at flight
Out star. Now, in the Airbus, we would, like I say, use final lap most likely. Speed brakes coming in. But that just doesn't work. Weirdly, you can't do a VOR lock. A lot of airplanes will let you do a VOR lock. This one won't let you. Bryce Bart, thank you very much again for your $4.99 donation. Put a flight number in your page and cash your company messages. I'll do that once on the ground, Bryce, but thank you very much. Thank you again for your donation. Apologies. Yeah, I just want to make sure I get this right. There we go. There's our VOR coming in. I'm looking for 343. I'm going to turn off terrain because we're visual and it's a bit distracting. Let's manage the speed.
What is your speed now? What is your indicated speed?
Okay, and now I'm trying to get that needle there, the heading to be on 343, which it almost is. So let's get the turn going. We've got a strong headwind on final. And we're intercepting at 12 miles, which is good. That gives us room. So once this blue line lines up, we are just going to turn inbound. We are at our platform altitude, and as promised, it's time for the gear. There it goes. Gear's coming down. Getting some turbulence off those hills. Pretty realistic, pretty strong wind. You'd expect some bumps off of these. 343 inbound, descending in 9, 10, 11, descending in 2 miles, so let's go to flaps 3. Flaps 3 are out. Okay, and now we are within 5 degrees, so we can safely begin our descent. But you see how tricky it would be to try and establish on that inbound with 0.2 miles. So I'm just going to start the descent, then I'll call air traffic control inbound. Okay, we are slowly getting onto that track. You can see it's not quite flying the track I'm asking for, but anyway, 10 miles to go. Let's go to flap full. And you wouldn't do this. You'd normally leave this here and I could select the FPA, as I said earlier. I'm going to have to wind the altitude down and start an open descent. It's the only way to convince it to work properly. By 900 feet, I'm going to take out the autopilot anyway. Okay, we're still working our way towards it. Might have to come a little bit left to get onto that radial. 9.7. We're starting at 8.8, remember? Going to have to be quick with this. Let's see if we can make this work. Okay, let's not fly too close to the hills. 9.3. 9.2, 9.1, right. So let's pull that. Let's set an FPA minus. Again, this is not what you'd have to do in the real airplane. This is more of a nuisance, but there we go. 3.4 is what we want. Okay, now we need to check our distances, and also let's not forget our tracking. Let's put 341. Okay, 8 miles. I want it to be 2540. 8 miles, 2540. See how this works out. And we are visual, so that's good. There's the runway. 8 miles, 2580. We're ever so slightly high, about 20 feet high, so I'm going to do 3.6. Final approach now, 7 miles out, runway in sight, down at 248. Right.
Standard 248, clear to land, runway 34, wind 30018 knots.
Thank you, clear to land, 34, down at 248. Right, 343 now, 7 miles, looking for 2180. 7 miles, 2180. We're on profile, so we need to go back to 3.4. And there we go. Right, let's do our landing checklist. Cabin is secured for landing. Is it? I need to do the ding. And we need to arm the ground spoilers. There we go. Right. Let's just check at 6 miles. We're looking for 1820. 6 miles, 1820. Auto thrust is in. It says thrust idle, but I actually know it's in speed mode. I can see it, so that's a bug. So that is actually in speed. Go altitude, I'm not going to set because if I do, it will mess up everything. 6 miles, which should be 1820 on profile. Eco memo, landing no blue. There it is. Thank you very much, Gruxan. Outstanding job, Captain. Thank you for your £5 donation. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Gruxan. Very kind of you. Right, we're still going slightly right of that track, so let's bring that left. Okay, next altitude check, 5 miles. I wanted 1460. We are already cleared to land. 5 miles. Which is there, 1460, about 20 feet high again, so let's put 3.6. 20 feet high, I add 0.2 to my angle for 1 mile. If I was 30 feet high, I'd put 3.7. Quite tricky on an approach that's already this steep though. Right, it's going to level off soon, so we're going to have to go autopilot off, flight directors off, we've already got the bird on, and the runway inbound is 345, so let's do that. Okay, right, here we go then. Manually flying, it's in speed mode. Oh, no, we're not manually flying. Problem is I've got that button assigned twice. There we go. Right. So keeping that descent on.
Berlin 257, continue.
We should really put the there we go, 3 whites. We should really put the going altitude in now, but I would get the other pilot to do that. I can see 2 whites, 2 reds out the window, so let's get ourselves onto the track. Wind is slightly from the left, blowing us to the right, so I can expect that. And now I just need to keep a 3 degree, I think it's a 3 degree descent. It was 3.4, but now we're on the Pappies. They tend to be not at the steeper angle. It does vary. Oh, gone slightly through there. Bit of overcorrecting. Oh, there's a bit of a wind shift. Let's see what we can manage. I haven't. Oh, it's below 1,000 feet. I can't. I've missed all my excuses. That is a bit disappointing. Beautiful scenery here. Yeah, I think these are 3 degree Pappies, judging by what we're needing to maintain them. Auto thrust doing a good job today, which is a relief. It wasn't last time we did this. Again, this is Microsoft's fantastic scenery. Oh, bit twitchy here. Keep it gentle. 2 whites, 2 reds. Keep it coming down. Still got that wind from the left.
Where would you like to enter a hold for delay?
Idle. Oh, oh, oh. That's going to be a bit rough. Match reverse. Unusual for our streams. Oh, dear. That rudder is not quite right. Right, we got that under control. Reversers can go back to reverse idle. They should be. And we're down. My goodness. Wilco down at 248. Well, that was a bit of fun. Fantastic. What an approach. Let's go to forward idle now. We're at taxi speed. And get ourselves clear of the runway. Short runway there, so what I didn't want to do was float along. But yeah, that was slightly slightly twitchier than I had anticipated in the flare. Right, let's get ourselves clear of that runway. Welcome to Corfu. Yeah, here we are. Fantastic. Now we want to clear ourselves out of the way so these others can come in.
Please expedite.
Expediting down air 248. Let's get ourselves clear. So we should cross the stop bar. There aren't any out there. Runway vacated down air 248.
272, clear to land runway 34.
The controller's working very hard with all of us, so I want to help him out. I'm going to park up here, I think. So let's bring it to a stop before anything else happens. So we made it. What an approach. Yeah, well, we made that as difficult as possible because we had a lot of features we couldn't use properly here, which would have made it a lot easier. The easiest being, we would just be able to just press final app and it would work. So yeah. Bryce, thank you very much for $4.99 donation. I will give it a go in just a second. But there we go, APU starting up. Let's get rid of the strobe lights, landing lights, and APU starting up. And we have our colleagues landing behind us. We can disarm those ground spoilers, bring the flaps to 0. Predictive wind shear can come off. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the flight. It was yeah, something slightly different, and certainly not a runway we want to spend too long floating on. But still we yeah, I'm using that as an excuse. We TCAS can go to standby. Good stuff. Right, let's go and get ourselves parked up. Parking brake released. Strange little taxi lines here. We're just going to take a right turn here and park here. Tiny little airport. Right in the city centre as well. So it is beautiful scenery if any of you want to fly here in your own time. Or in your general aviation aircraft. But as you can see, flight path angle, incredibly useful and a really well working feature in this mod now. It's really impressive to see that added, and it makes such a difference. Noga says, I'll never see the landing. Oh no. Right, we'll stop here. Set the brakes. Good stuff. And that APU is available. Not yet. Nope. So we're going to wait for a second. The add-on that tells us the landing rate is the FlyLife Studio overlay. Yeah. So we should see some other people coming in. But yeah, good fun to try something slightly different. And it's the first complex approach we've tried. There's a first colleague. Excellent. They made it down. First complicated approach we've made in the in this add-on, or this mod, I should say. So there's some more traffic coming in out there somewhere. I'm glad you enjoyed the stream. Thanks very much, FlightZilla, Husker66. Thanks very much for coming along. Brini says, you're the king of uncomfortable laughs. Very good. That is incorrect parking, says Ethan's Aviation. Yeah, it could be. I haven't read much about it. Where are these stands here? Maybe they're meant to be over there. Not entirely sure. I don't know how accurate this scenery is. But we'll go here. Maybe we're getting fuel.
Planet 179, I request further descent.
179er, enable your number 5.
Dougal says the Greek controller is excellent and cool. Yeah, the Greek controller is doing a great job putting up with us. That's very kind of them, especially with so many of us arriving. Checkpoint says, I have that as well. As soon as it lands, it pulls to the left. Yeah, that was unusual. I haven't seen it do that before, actually, I must say. But it did a real swing. Reminded me of flying the Wacko. But there we go. Right, let's have a go at... thank you very much again, Rooksan, for your 5 donation. Really appreciate it. And Bryce wants to put flight number in your int page and check your company messages. Let's see.
Small Planet 179er, descend flight level 9.
Yeah, we did have a flight number, so it was working, Bryce. I'm not sure what's happened there. No, they don't seem to work, Bryce. Apologies, but thank you for trying and thank you for your donations. But yeah, I'll have to have a go next time. I don't think that feature seems to be working on my one, so apologies for that. Klaus, thank you very much for your 89 DKK donation. Really appreciated. Klaus says thank you. Thank you very much. Really kind. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you all enjoyed that. It's good to do something different and to see that yeah, sometimes we do just get it on the ground. Excellent. Right. Okay, that APU is available. Let's get this thing shut down. Oh no, it won't work because. Yes. There we go. Doing it properly. Doing it on my own little controller. Fantastic. Let the engine spool down then. Seatbelt signs can go off. Beacon can go off. And the stairs could arrive and get our passengers off. We want a VOR tutorial, says Greek Pro. Yeah, so a VOR tutorial, you know, definitely something that's possible. That's a really hard VOR approach, that one, to fly like the way we flew it. So there are simpler ones out there we could go and do. Right then, sadly there's no replay feature available for us, so I won't be able to give you guys a replay of that, which is probably a good thing. So yeah, thank you all so much for coming along. Thank you to the moderators for taking the time to come and do this, and thank you all for watching and joining in the chat. I really appreciate it, and it makes a big difference to the channel. If you have enjoyed this and enjoyed watching me struggle through that approach, do please hit the like button. It makes a big difference for the channel, and we really appreciate it. But yeah, thank you for all your donations. Thank you again to Klaus and Bryce there for coming at the end of the donations as well, and also thank you to the moderators. Thank you to the viewers. Go to the Discord community if you'd like more information and help from the community here. They do an amazing job, and of course we have more live streams, tutorials and videos coming very soon. Right now I'm going to just disconnect from FatSim after the excellent work from them, and thank you for those who flew along. Let's start the ending music, if I can get that to work. Oh, there we go. Hopefully that works for you guys. And I'm going to say we'll see you again very soon in another stream. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Have a good evening or a good day wherever you are in the world. We'll see you again in another video or live stream very soon. New video on the channel tomorrow, all about that exciting printer. Thanks very much.